Chattanooga-Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm the Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. Our Chairman, Ethan Collier, is absent today. First order of business, I'd like to appoint Todd Lehman, Chair Pro Tem, in case we need a second today. Without objection, hearing none. The RPA staff has reviewed each case and made a recommendation. Planning commissioners have received the staff reports for the cases on today's agenda and have had time to review the case information prior to this meeting. For those cases with staff recommendations to approve or approve with conditions, I will ask the staff if there's opposition to the case or the conditions. If there is none, unless a PC member requests a staff presentation or has questions for staff, we will proceed to a vote. As chair, I do not vote except in case of a tie. For staff recommendations to deny or for cases with opposition, we will begin with a staff presentation. Following the staff presentation, commissioners will have the opportunity to question the staff. Then I will ask the applicant and then the opposition to come to the podium. The applicant will have 7 minutes to present their request. There'll be a time clock that shows that time. Opposition will then have 9 minutes, and then the applicant will have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. Equal time for both sides. If there's any opposition, 9 minutes. If there's multiple speakers for one case, you still just have 9 minutes for that case. So I encourage you, as you line up over here, to work out amongst yourselves a system where everyone gets their time to speak, and be mindful of others behind you in line. When you come to the podium to speak, please begin by stating your name and address for the record. Cases are decided by a simple majority vote. Once your case is finished, if you want to discuss this with other people, please exit to the lobby and do it out there so that we can continue with the next case on the agenda. A few housekeeping items, bless you. A few housekeeping items, please silence your phones at this time. Please silence your phones. And a reminder that the Planning Commission has no authority over traffic regulations, building codes, or stormwater regulations. Please direct your comments today to the Planning Commission only and not to the audience or directly to the applicant. Only those at the podium will be recognized. Do not speak or shout from your seat. Once Planning Commission takes action, if you have any questions, you can contact the Regional Planning Agency after today. Note that for most requests other than subdivisions, Planning Commission makes a recommendation. Final action is taken by either the City Council, if it's in the city of Chattanooga, or the Hamilton County Commission, if it's not. And that'll be 1 month from now. And that also allows another opportunity for public input at their meetings. So we will start with subdivisions. Brian, I believe, we've got withdrawn by applicant HCSD 24-46, is that correct?
That is correct. It's a Dallas Station Planned Unit Development. It's been deferred since February and March, and the applicant has not worked out the flooding issues, so they wish to withdraw this plat.
All right. Do we need a motion on that, or has it been done administratively?
Probably do a motion since it's been deferred.
Chair will entertain a motion. I have a motion to withdraw that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving to case 25-7.
Sure, this is a final plat for Morgan Farms, lots 1 through 40 and lots 116 through 177 at 1044 Ottawa Georgetown Road. Staff reviewed this final plat and recommends approve with 2 conditions.
What are those 2 conditions, Brian?
Fire hydrants to be tested and to be operational by the fire marshal. And there's some outstanding plat requirements, like adding community lot 83 to the title block, more of showing utility easements. Those are the 2 conditions.
Okay. Is the applicant present? Applicant for 25-7 Morgan Farms subdivision. Don't see an applicant. Is there any opposition present? Have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve with conditions. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Case 25-8.
Yes, this is a preliminary plat. White Road subdivision, which is not the official name of the subdivision as of yet. They'll give it an official name for the final plat. It's lots 1 through 53. This property was rezoned about 2 or 3 months ago at the county commission. It has sewer approval for 53 lots. It does have conditions on it, so staff recommended to approve this preliminary plat as shown.
Is the applicant present? Any opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. It's approved. Move to case 25-9.
Sure. This is a preliminary plat called Timberfield subdivision. It's a planned unit development. And on the screen, it shows lots 1 through 108. Originally, it had staff recommendation to approve. There are some conditions on this property through the rezoning. The rezoning was approved with the condition of 4 dwelling units per acre. The acreage at the time of the PUD and rezoning was 24.7 acres. The preliminary plat comes in at 21.82 acres, so it's a little bit less. I think there's a discrepancy. There is a discrepancy shown on the acreage. If you look at the 21.82 as shown on the plat, at 102 lots, that's a density of 4.67 dwelling units per acre, which is more than allowed by the zoning. Should be 87 lots. I reached out to the engineer or the applicant. They sent me an email back on Friday that there was a typo in the acreage shown on the preliminary plat. It was actually 24.3, and they agree they should remove 2 lots, which should be 84 and 85 from this preliminary plat.
And have they done that in a way that we have a revised plat?
You have a revised engineering plan on your screen, but no, you do not have a revised plat.
Does this revised plan that's on the screen comply with what you told them?
Yes. I'm just not sure. The applicant's here. He can speak to why the discrepancy in the acreage.
Where's the applicant?
I think he's coming up.
Mr. Price, come on up. Name and address, please.
Mike Price, MAP Engineers, Chattanooga, Tennessee. So there was a typo that the surveyor, when he submitted it, he showed a 21 instead of a 24. So in order to meet the requirements for the zoning that was approved, it would be 100 homes. So again, this is a preliminary plat. The reason that this is important for approval before this body today is we cannot get a land disturbance permit until the preliminary plat is approved. So we'll work out to get to the 100. It's not a major deal. At the end of the day, we would just take 1 lot off of the engineering plans, which would get us at 100 buildable lots. So the request, again, being just a preliminary plat, final plat will be corrected accordingly, is that we get approval today with that understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Any questions for the applicant? All right. Is there opposition present? We do have opposition present. Ms. Helton, come on up. Name and address, please. Let's throw 9 on the clock.
Kim Helton, 8618 Snow Hill Road. And so this piece of property was limited to an R1 zoning of 4 per acre at 21 point, I think it's 67, no, 82. That would be around 88, something like that. But this is 100, and so it's still over by 12. And I've given you the resolution for that, so you can see that it's limited to 4 per acre.
And that resolution is on the screen right beside that chart and highlighted in red. The main issue is the discrepancy in the acreage. If it is 24.3 as shown on the engineering plan, it wouldn't be 102, it'd be like 100 lots.
Give just a moment for us to review this.
Sure.
Questions for the opposition from Planning Commission? What's the will of the commission? Well, do we want to, I guess, do you have a rebuttal to come back up?
At the end of the day, the zoning is clear. We're limited to 4 units per acre. We made an error as it relates to the amount of acreage that was submitted. If, for sake of discussion, it's 21 acres, we're only going to do 87 because, again, that's what we're limited to. So all that means is we do less lots. But the surveyor indicated they made a mistake. It happens to all of us. This is not a major mistake. It's a typo. I would not let that hold us up in terms of moving forward, given that we understand what the conditions are, and it was just simply a clerical error at the end of the day. So with that, I believe that, and we're this close to getting our land disturbance permit. To hold us up, deny it today, would delay us for more than 30 days. So the weather is really nice outside. We'd like to get underway. And again, it's just a minor error that shouldn't really rise to the level of getting a denial. So if there's any questions, happy to answer.
A couple questions. With the change between 24 and 21 acres and the change between 80-something units and 100-something units, does that have any impact on the actual infrastructure that y'all are building? The road is going to stay the same, the pipe is going to stay the same, the entrance is going to stay the same?
Everything is,
Just where do we draw the lines for the lots?
that's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Great question. Anyone else? Mr. Woodman?
I guess a question for staff. We can condition this preliminary plat based on 4 units per acre, based on a surveyed, stamped plat, correct?
You can, and it's already got conditions on the zoning as well, so.
But I mean, just to hopefully communicate at this meeting that we're not talking about 108 lots, we're not talking about 100 lots, we're not talking about 87 lots, we're talking about 4 lots per acre based on a surveyed, stamped plat based on acreage of the property.
Correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve based on a condition that the plat not be more than 4 acres, 4 units per acre.
We have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve with conditions. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Case 25-10.
This is a final plat for Auburn Chase subdivisions. It's lot 1 through 35, all through to Georgetown Road. Get to my sheet. Staff recommended to approve this final plat.
The applicant present? Is there opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. 1 recusal. Next is case 25-11.
Sure, this is a preliminary plat called for Hamilton Station. It's 6.22 acres in size. It's roughly 4.66 dwelling units per acre. It's single-family detached. It's R1 with conditions on that PUD. There was a few corrections that need to be made in terms of street names and update the zoning to show R1 PUD and show and label the mail kiosk location, which is very typical sometimes in preliminary plats. Staff recommends to approve with conditions.
So 25-11 does have conditions.
The ones I just read off, yes.
What's the will of the commission? Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've looked over the Hamilton County in this detail. I know they're different from Chattanooga subdivision regs, which would require us to connect to Crossgate Road, if I'm not mistaken. There's no similar, just for clarity, there's no similar requirement here.
When this came up for the zoning case in the PUD, staff and Plan Commission recommended a connection for this one cul-de-sac to the north to connect to Crossgate. At County Commission, that was voted down to connect that.
Okay.
So we did recommend connection there, but it did not go any further at County Commission.
Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion. I have a motion to approve that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, case 25-12.
Sure. This is a plat that's been before this body before. You can see on the right-hand side was the Planning Commission resolution where it was approved preliminary April 11th, 2022. Preliminary plats are only good for 3 years, so that's since expired as of last week. So it's coming back before this body I think the final plat is coming next month, but because, again, this was expired, it's the exact same plat that was approved 3 years ago. Again, it is a PUD. Here's the PUD plan that was shown. Had more lots on the PUD. Of course, they've reduced the lots, but staff recommended to approve this preliminary plat. There is some things that need to be corrected on it, but which is typical on preliminary plats, so we recommend approval.
Sorry, I didn't ask before. Is the applicant present on this one? Any opposition present? Why don't you come on up, applicant? Name and address first, and then we'll hear from opposition.
Ian Blackmore, Pratt & Associates, 1734 Dayton Boulevard. As Brian mentioned, it's just a housekeeping paperwork for an expired preliminary plat. The project is currently under construction, and the final plat would be following this. We did reduce the lot count from the PUD to the plats. Any questions?
Any questions for the applicant? Doesn't look like it. Opposition, come on up.
Kim Helton, 8618 Snow Hill Road. So there's a question about there's a substation there on the property, and there's a access easement that's not shown on the subdivision plat. It's a 15-foot access easement to that particular substation, and that's the second page. The first page is the subdivision regulations that says all the easements should be shown. And this would be, a concern for any future residents if this easement is still viable, that this 15-foot easement may be going through some of those lots. So that's something that, needs to be looked into. And then the reduction in single-family lots seems to be what qualifies to be a major PUD change. So just a question about that too. Thank you.
Brian, if there's an issue with a missing easement, can that be fixed on the final?
That's one of the things that was noted, just to fix show all easements typically on a plat. And the other question was about the number of lots. If you increase the lots, that's a major change. Reduction of lots is just a minor staff-approved change.
Right. I believe if they were replacing single-family lots with high-density.
High density as well, or if you were changing the location of single-family, abutting existing single-family, there's a whole list of major changes. This did not qualify.
Just less houses. is
Less
not-
houses.
Yeah. I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Case number 25-2 for a variance.
Sure, this is a request for a variance to the Hamilton County subdivision regulations. The subdivision regulations require for all flag lots that the area for the flag lot, not including the pole, be a minimum of 1 acre. This is a little less than that, so they're asking for a variance. This body has approved similar requests over the years, and staff reviewed this, didn't feel there was any issues with recommending approval of a variance on the minimum flag lot area. So we would recommend approval of the variance.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Moving to case SDP-25-8.
Sure, this is a final plat in the city of Chattanooga. This is Farmstead, Phase 2A, lots 81 through 106, 182 through 184, 193 to 195, 220 to 223, and community lots 4, 10, 11. Again, this is a final plat. The preliminary plat's been in front of this body before, so staff recommend approve with conditions.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. SDP-25-9, last case under plats.
Sure, this is the city of Chattanooga plat. This is a preliminary plat for Helix Ridge subdivision off of 153. It's phase 1 of a very large PUD. It's lots 1 through 377. He's got a lot of images here, 10 images, so I won't go through all those. But this plat does meet the preliminary plat requirements for the city of Chattanooga, and we recommend approval with conditions.
Is the applicant present? Is the opposition present, or is there any opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Let's move to new business, Brian. Case number 2025-0049.
Sure, this is a special permit for a single-wide manufactured home. It's roughly 0.25 acres in size. Number of units proposed is 1. That's a density of 4 dwelling units per acre. You can see on the zoning map, you do have R5 to the east, R5 to the west of the site, which allows single-wide manufactured homes. There's been no zoning history for this particular piece of property. Address is 1534 Robertson Road. Looking on the zoning map, you see single unit to the north. You do have manufactured uses to the west. You do have some industrial uses scattered throughout. You have manufactured home to the south and east of the site. This is a view of the site. Another view of the site. This is north of the site, single-family dwellings. South of the site, you can see single-family dwelling. Into the right is a single-wide manufactured home. This is east of the site, which is some single-wide manufactured homes. This is west of the site. This request would be compatible with adjacent land uses as it has similar single-wide manufactured homes nearby. Development form would be very similar. There is precedent in this area for single-wide manufactured homes and the zoning. Again, this is a special permit, so staff recommends to approve. This special permit stops this body unless there's somebody wants to appeal. They have 7 days to appeal the decision of this body.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Case 2025-50.
Sure, this is a request to rezone from RN2 Residential Neighborhood Zone to CNT Neighborhood Transition Commercial Zone. This is in the city of Chattanooga. Proposed use is commercial. This was roughly 1.85 acres in size. You look at the zoning map on the screen, you have RN16, which is single family to the south and east. To the north is RN2, which is single family and duplexes. And to the south, you do see CC, that's commercial corridor. But immediately abutting this site, there is no commercial zoning nearby. There's no zoning history for this piece of property. Here's an aerial view of the site. It's single family dwelling. To the north is vacant land. To the northeast is single unit residential. To the south and east is single unit residential. And to the west is institutional and commercial. Here's a view of the site from Derby. View of the site from East 3rd Street. This is southeast of the site. Again, more single family dwellings. Southwest of the site, again, you see it's more single family and some commercial uses. East of the site, again, single family dwellings. And this is west of the site, single family dwellings and institutional. This is looking down Derby Street. And this is looking down East 3rd Street. This property is in the Area 3 Historic River to Ridge Plan. It's in the place type recommendation is urban residential. This is one of the properties that does have an overlay on top of it where it's single family uses only. Again, the plan is very specific to only permit single unit detached residential in this overlay area. And this is one of those areas you see on the map. The property is right here in the red circle. The hatched area indicates it's in the urban residential overlay zone. Here's the site plan submitted with a request. This request is not compatible with the adopted Area 3 plan. Again, the plan is very specific to single unit detached uses only. Approving CNT at this location would set the precedent for commercial zoning and further encroachment along Derby Street, which again is primarily single family. So staff recommends to deny this request. You do have some opposition that we received in a spreadsheet in front of you. That's probably, it's like 6, 7 emails in opposition RPA received.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Okay. Brian, did that conclude your report on it? Okay.
It did.
Let's have the applicant come on up to the podium. Please state your name and address. You'll have 7 minutes.
Erica Smith, Forest Properties LLC.
It's Calvin Smith. So we would like to request the residential to be mixed use simply because we have tried many times to sell this property or lease this property. And for all use of residential, it has not been moved at all. And we find it to be better for this location for us to rezone it for commercial use simply because we have better opportunities to provide for commercial on this corner lot of Derby and Third Street. We have had so many people that was text us and called us about making it commercial use, basically. And, you know, at this point, we just like, well, let's do the best out of it and make it commercial use instead of residential. The residential wasn't working for us. As I stated, we tried to sell it. We had multiple contracts on it to try to sell it. It was just too busy for the neighborhood. It's too busy for the residential part of it. So when we had some that said, oh, hey, how about making it commercial? We'll buy it if you make it commercial. So we stated that, okay, let's see what we can do about it.
And here's the most important thing. We've had 2 tenants over the course of 2 years stay in this property. The first set of tenants were 3 college students, and they stated this particular location is too busy, too noisy. The staff conveniently left out that American Wings restaurant is directly across from this property. And when they mention about the west, you mentioned it's institutional or whatever. Residential.
Yeah, that's a
It's
church building.
It's another company that's used for different things. So we understand that it's in a historical neighborhood. However, that particular property is facing a very, very busy street. So again, we are struggling to lease it out because it's too busy, it's too noisy. So I don't see how it's going to benefit being residential if we can't get residents to stay.
And to add to that, we have, I'm a contractor. I've been in business for 10 years in the city. And we actually owned another lot that's right on the corner of Derby and where Orange Grove is at. That one could have been for commercial usage as well, but we decided not to, and that one's residential still to this day. So it's not like we're investors where we're trying to buy into, you know, residential areas to make it commercial only. That's not our thing to do. It's just that this property has been very difficult for us, and the only way right now for us is to get rid of this property or to do something with it is to make it commercial usage. Yes,
Any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
What is you mentioned there's a property to the left of there, of your site on this map, and that it's also a commercial property connected to the church. What's operating?
out of that church building to the right.
I thought you mentioned the property adjacent to your property.
It's like a medical institute or something like that. I don't see much traffic, but it's not a residential home. So you have the church and then you have our lot. If they could go back to the west,
Yeah, that's what he pointed out.
yes.
So the church owns that building right next to our open lot. So I don't even think the church uses that building for anything, but it's not a residential home. It's a church, it's commercial. I would say with the church. And then as she was,
Institutional.
yeah, institutional, okay. So then right across, I mean, you have, like she stated, the restaurant, and then right next to the left of the restaurant, you have some other commercial building. And right across from that, you got KFC that's right there on the corner. So it's like that whole area right there. I mean, we're not taking a bit out and trying to make it, commercial use. It's perfect. It's a perfect corner for it. It's a roundabout, like as we stated, it's very noisy, busy in that area. So we just thought it'd be perfect for commercial, use for that.
It's also surrounded by medical institutions or Langer. It could be a place to where people are doing therapy recovery. We have had some therapists, psychiatrists, different people show interest in this property. So we're not looking at it to be an Airbnb or anything that's going to cause high traffic. We do want to keep the integrity of the neighborhood. However, I don't want to be repetitive, but Just wanted to mention that.
Yes, sir. We do have opposition present.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for the applicant. Is your plan to keep the building on the site, or are y'all looking to put a new building on this property?
Which building are you referencing?
The house that's on there now?
Our plan is to keep it. Yeah, we keeping this. Now, what we're trying to rezone it for is, from my understanding, is residential and commercial. So it's to be both, but if a commercial building want it, they can also be able to, what I'm saying?
But operate out of the
Yeah, operate
existing
out of it as
structure?
well, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we've got commercial entities all over that area.
You
right?
do, yes, you do.
Memorial Hospital's just down the street.
Yeah.
You got Second Baptist, and then you got the fish place for that.
Yeah.
Purchased many times. So, okay. That's what I thought.
But then you got Orange Grove too.
You're right.
It's
That's exactly
it's
right.
Down the street as well.
Commissioner Cottle? Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much. You'll have 2 minutes for rebuttal after the opposition speaks. Raise your hand if you're here for the opposition to speak. 3 of you, okay. Remember, you have 9 minutes to share. Come on up, state your name and address, please.
Thomas Diller, 2509 Ivy Street, Chattanooga, which is in the Glenwood neighborhood. I'm representing as a Glenwood resident. Also, I am the current president of the Glenwood Neighborhood Association. The association met in March. This property was discussed amongst the members that were in attendance of our association meeting. There was a motion from the floor from one of our residents to oppose this rezoning to commercial from residential. The motion was second and carried. All in favor. There was no one opposed to it. Therefore, I'm on behalf of our association to oppose it. Glenwood is surrounded by commercial. We have Memorial Hospital to the north. We have Notre Dame High School to the east. We have Center for Sports Medicine to the south. And then we have Park Ridge Hospital in this East Street Medical Corridor to our west. We won't be the last time we're here to oppose encroachment of commercial properties coming into our neighborhood. If we want Chattanooga to actually have anyone that lives in Chattanooga, we need homes. And this is a home that's in Glenwood. It's a primarily and historically a majority neighborhood. This rezoning to commercial will take away a home, a resident, a voice, a vote from Glenwood. Therefore, we oppose it. It is also part of our history. I have a historic Glenwood book here. We have a registry of our homes that on the National Registry of Historic Places, and East 3rd Street 2325 is on page 37. Been historically a neighborhood here. As mentioned earlier, multiple land use studies, river to ridge, have all designated this as residential. We just ask as a neighborhood that you uphold these previous studies and use of this property and to protect our boundaries.
Hi, I'm Billy Reynolds and I live in Glenwood. Thank you for your work keeping Chattanooga and East Chattanooga a great place to live, work, and play. But I just have a few points of opposition. As Tommy mentioned, so the Glenwood Neighborhood Association voted against this rezoning, so that's a big reason. It's also important to recognize that this is just our western gateway into the residential portion of the neighborhood. So this is where, the busy East 3rd Street commercial corridor meets the residential historic neighborhood. So it's our gateway, and it is a clash where commercial meets residential. Another point is busy East 3rd Street vehicle traffic also encounters the neighborhood here. There's a traffic calming island in the middle of East 3rd Street right there for this very purpose because of that clash that occurs. As Tommy mentioned, the Area 3 plan also recommends residential there as shown in this map. If you don't mind just going back to the zoning one, I was just going to point out as well. Even so that the house to the left that they mentioned is used for institutional purposes, it is still zoned residential. So I think that's of note probably. Also, whatever happens here will affect the fate of Derby Street going kind of northeast and then down Derby Circle. So currently these four corners The American Wings commercial is like they have deed restrictions that prevents them from having any vehicle traffic come onto Derby Circle. So they are, that the American Wings already has deed restrictions that kind of like prevent that commercial activity there. And I think I'll hand it over to Donald for now.
Sandifer. I've been in Glenwood for 50 years, plus got witnesses. Since I was 15 years old. So we've got a lot of commercial businesses in Glenwood, more than what we need, more than what we don't need to include anymore. We've got more than enough. As you stated, Memorial, Park Ridge, they are steady encroaching on our historic neighborhood. I'm sorry for whatever issues you all may be having, but we don't need to continue to have commercialization in our neighborhood. We are a healthcare corridor, a healthcare hub. We've got plans. Our association has plans with the healthcare entities in our neighborhood, but it does not include commercialization. So please, we ask that you reject this. Thank you.
Sure, you've got a little bit of time.
I was going to add, so the property just south at the American Wings, they were also denied rezoning in 2010. Family Dollar was trying to relocate at that corner just southwest. And so they were denied. I don't know if it was a zoning thing or whatever, but the neighborhood opposed it and Family Dollar was trying to be there and then they were kind of denied being there as well. And I would just mention housing affordability as well. So every house that we turn into a business, ultimately it reduces our housing stock. So thank you.
All right, let's bring the applicant back up. You have a 2-minute rebuttal, unless there's any question for the opposition. Okay. Oh, wait, Adam, yeah.
I believe it was 2020, sorry, I'm off by a year, 2020.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
A few gentlemen stated that it's the property that's located to the left of us is residential, but it's shown as institutional. So which one is it on file?
That's per staff, because staff stated it's institutional as opposed to what the gentleman just stated.
It's possible to have an institutional use in a residential zone. I believe that's what's happening here. One is how the land is zoned, one is the use of the structure, and I think you have a residential zone with an institutional use. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we just want to reiterate that we are also trying to do dual residential if it suits us best, or commercial. And again, the commercial that we're looking into, it will not bring heavy traffic. So that's all I have.
So just to fall back on that as well, the commercial businesses that we are looking at having to come in would be for like the travel nurses, doctors and whatnot, medical, something of medical. We're not looking to make this property out of a restaurant or something just crazy busy on this corner lot. So, we have the rights to deny or whatnot to the property of the inquiries that we may get after the commercial or if it's passed. So it's not like we're trying to take a single community and make out of a busy community and just do something crazy with it. We just know for this corner lot, it's best that we make the best out of our opportunity, and as well inviting others to do what's right with that property on the corner to just help it out, and what's that, 3rd Street? So that's 3rd Street. 3rd Street has multiple, as they stated, multiple business up and down the street. And another fella said Notre Dame is right up the street. So it's not, okay, it's not like that it's.
You can finish your sentence.
Okay, okay. So it's not like that, saying that we're just, there's nothing around it already. There's already multiple business up and down that road.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to ask Brian, it's been zoned RN2 for how long? Many years? What's the history behind this?
Well, it would
I
only
just
be a
wonder
few months on
how'd you
that.
get so much commercial here if it's RN2?
This property is prior to the new zoning code, it was R2. I don't know how long it's been R2. I'm assuming many, many years in this area. We had a lot of downtown zoning, medium to high densities such as R2 or R3. I couldn't tell you how long it's actually been residentially zoned.
Just seems like the horse is already out the barn.
Oh, well, the commercial is to the south across East Third. Look at the zoning map here. As they mentioned, the wing place is CC. Then this used to be I think a grocery store at one time, many, many years ago. And I think this is the KFC. So a lot of those commercial businesses are in the commercial zones. As you go further west towards downtown, that's where you see more of the medical uses. If you go this way on Derby, that's where you get into Memorial. But in this general area, it's residential. Do have commercial again across East Third Street. And one of the main reasons is the plan. The plan is in the urban overlay zone that says primary use is being single family detached.
Mr. Caudle, is that all?
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Lyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm looking at the existing zoning type of RN2, and when I go to the use, the table 3841.1 use matrix, neighborhood commercial establishment is allowed by special exception. The definition of neighborhood commercial establishment is a commercial use within a residential neighborhood that is non-residential in its original construction and or use. The structure containing a neighborhood commercial establishment may also contain dwelling units. Is it that it's the original construction and or use part of that is keeping them from being able to use it as it's currently zoned?
I believe so.
But, hypothetically, it seems like that zoning type is admitting that there are instances where these buildings within this same zoning type can sort of straddle that line between the two, right?
And you also do home occupations. And I think I heard them mention something earlier about nurses living there. Well, that wouldn't be a commercial use. That's just a rental home.
Karen, did you have something to add?
The neighborhood commercial is intended for older buildings that have historically been used as commercial or commercial construction to come back online. So it's just to enable that to happen without rezoning commercial property in the middle of a neighborhood. So it was looking at that older historic use pattern and older historic construction.
Like you'd see in St. Elmo, we have something like the wood shop. That'd be the prime example. It was built as a commercial use, but zoned residential.
Yes, Mr. Barrett.
Yeah. Touch base with your city council person about this request.
A new one was sworn in just a few hours ago.
So maybe it's tough to do that now, but that said, I'm a little bit torn, and I took some notes real quick. So I think I'm leaning towards denial right now, but I see the potential here, and for me, really comes down to, how do we condition this to ensure there's adequate buffering? Maybe even condition it to ensure access is only given on East Third Street, and then potentially even look at, like you've mentioned, a condition that keeps the existing structure on site. And I would encourage you guys to maybe look at those options.
I said a new one was sworn in. That's District 8 on here, but I want to say out loud that the new districts for redistricting begin today.
Yeah, I think so.
So
They start today.
So I don't know if these are the old ones or the new ones, because this is close to the line between 8 and 9.
I believe Jennifer checked. I think we're good on the April cases. May will have the new council districts.
Okay.
But I don't hold me to that. I think
We should double check. I can work with you on it after the meeting between now and city council, just to make sure we're right on all these, because some are close to the lines. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian, just for reminder's sake, if we do vote for denial, what then is what does that do to the applicant's ability to request rezoning in the future?
nothing. It goes on to city council, like all the zoning cases. Now, if it's denied at city council, you have to wait 9 months to come back. Applicant can withdraw at city council, but it's a little harder because, it's up to the council person.
But if it's withdrawn here,
He can come back 2 months from now.
gotcha.
We have a question for the
Yes, sir.
opposition, and I'll direct this especially to the neighborhood association president. I'm just curious.
Applicants, if you could step back and let the opposition come up.
If you could just clarify for me and state as simply as possible, is your opposition here because you don't know what sort of business is going to be here? They don't have a tenant yet, or is it to the existence of commercial, period?
So my opposition is exactly their argument. So the next person that comes in will say, there's a chicken wing place here. We might as well make this one commercial. And then the next property will come over and they'll say, there's KFC right here. You might as well make this one commercial. And then the next property, it's a domino effect. Also, I'm sure these are nice people. They seem very urgent to offload this property. They offload it to another commercial owner. All bets are off. Our agreement of having this nice medical office or a nice tenant, next owner, I don't know who they're going to be. And it could be anything. So we need to have boundaries for our neighborhood. I'm sorry that this is the house that they are having challenges with, but that's the boundary. That's the residence. And I'm just asking to uphold that every homeowner up here will know you can sell your property a lot more if you go commercial. No one's going to argue with that. You can make more money commercial. There's never going to be a switch back from this house to back residential once it goes commercial. Could you make more money doing commercial? I understand that. So, but somewhere we need to have a community. We need to have a neighborhood. As they mentioned, their exact argument is my argument, because this one goes and they'll say, might as well do the next one. And Notre Dame already tore down a home on East 3rd Street to put in an entrance sign. Okay? They had the ownership of that property. It's residential, never had to get rezoned. It got raised. It is an empty lot that has an entrance sign. Nothing we could do. They own that. They can do that. That took a resident away. It took a vote away. Took a neighborhood, take a neighbor away. So next property will go that way. Next property, new city fellowships right there. They want a new parking lot. They'll take the next property, buy it, level it, make it a parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Any other questions for applicants, staff, opposition, any comments, discussion from the commission? Yeah, Commissioner. Yes, ma'am.
So this is for the applicant. I am looking at the uses for CNT, and I'm curious if you would be comfortable or what your thoughts are about us approving with the condition of live work under the CNT.
Could you explain what live work is?
I'm going to defer to these guys to let them explain it.
It's someone who would own, like I said, an accounting business, perhaps the easiest way to explain it, where you live there and also you work there.
Sure.
So, yeah, so from our understanding, that's exactly what we was trying to do. Well, somewhat of what we was trying to do is the property would be for that usage of having someone that actually lived there and they could work there as well. From when we called in, to get the information from the city, that's what we told them. It's what we was looking at having to be done to provide those kind of services where someone could live there, but they could use it as commercial property as well.
Okay, Ms. Adamson, does that answer your questions?
It does. Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments from the planning commission?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate boundaries as well. Glenwood's a beautiful place. I think you're in a tough spot. I'm going to move to deny.
I have a motion to deny. Is there a second? I have a motion to deny that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we just wanted to speak to the motion, but also kind of concur with Commissioner Vaughn just brought up. I think that so this is a difficult one. You're right there on the border between the neighborhood, a beautiful neighborhood was just mentioned there, and one that I grew up going to church in. So I'm very familiar with the area. I think that there is an avenue to making this work? Because there is a natural buffer there, which I think is Third Street and Derby Street. I think that is kind of a natural area to do it, but there needs to be a lot of thought of how we could, if that does happen, how the neighborhood could be protected, such as the items that Mr. Veron mentioned with conditions on buffering existing structure and how that would impact the other. So I'm going to vote with for the motion that's on the table, but would like to see you meet with your council person. And also I would meet with the neighborhood and see if you can come to some sort of agreement with them before the council meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments on the motion to deny? Yes, ma'am. Ms.
Are they
Adams?
allowed to withdraw their request before we vote as the applicant? Because if we deny this, what are the implications of that?
Well, there are no implications for denying here other than it goes on to city council with a denial recommendation.
And if it's denied at city council, then it's a 9-month?
They have to wait 9 months before reapplying for a rezone or any kind of special permit on this property.
So we can withdraw.
I'm looking at staff on this. We've got a motion on the floor that's been properly seconded. We're in discussion now on that motion. Can they still ask to withdraw? I think the
I'll
motion.
defer
would
to
have be
Dan.
withdrawn.
I think the motion should be withdrawn to start over like you didn't have the motions first.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Are you willing to withdraw the motion?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Motion is withdrawn. So applicants, just so I understand it, you want to withdraw your application to rezone this property?
Correct.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve the withdrawal. Have a motion that's been properly seconded to withdraw this case. All those in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. The case is withdrawn. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I encourage you to reach out to either Councilman Elliott or Councilwoman Knoll. We'll figure out which one to see if they can work with the neighborhood and you to achieve what you want and what they want. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work on that one. That's good. Moving on to the next case, 2025-53.
Yeah, this is case 2025-53. This is a request in North Chattanooga to rezone from RN3 residential neighborhood zone to TRN3 traditional residential neighborhood zone for single unit detached residential. It's roughly 0.20 acres in size. Number of units being proposed is 3. That's a density of 15 dwelling units per acre. You look at the zoning map, you see RN3 to the north and south. To the east is RN15, and to the west across Forest Avenue is RN3 and RN2. There's been no zoning history on this piece of property. In 2025, there was a request to abandon the right-of-way on the property just to the south of this property. It's currently a single-family dwelling on this one lot. Everything abutting this property to the north, south, and east is single-unit residential. And to the west is single-unit and 2-unit residential. So it's primarily a single-family neighborhood. Here's a view of the site from Forest Avenue. This is a site from Boylston Street. Site from Eleanor Street. Then north of the site, again, some more single-family dwellings. This is east of the site. And this is south of the site on Eleanor Street. And this is west of the site. Here's Forest Avenue and Boylston Street intersections. This is Eleanor Street. Here's the site plan submitted with the request. You can see it's one existing lot. They wish to rezone it to TRN3, really in regards to setbacks. And if you do that, they can get 3 individual lots on this property. This request is compatible with adjacent land uses, as again, most of the uses around this is single family. It is compatible with the comprehensive plan. There is no land use plan for this particular piece of property. The TRN3 zone is more appropriate at this location due to the urban dimensional standards in that zone, and these are primarily historic lots of record. We do have a RN13 zone that would be probably the best tool at this location. However, there's an issue with the setbacks of the RN13 zone. Staff is aware of that issue with the setbacks, and we're potentially next couple of months working on changing the setbacks in all of our urban zones. So that's why we're not recommending RN13 because of an issue with the setbacks. So staff recommends to approve the TRN3. Again, it's zoned, currently zoned RN3 as it's zoned now. You can see on the screen here, it allows single unit, 2-unit, 3 and 4 unit dwellings and multifamily. You can see the setbacks there. On the right-hand side is RN13. That's why I said earlier, RN13 makes more sense that the only use allowed would be single unit detached. But the corner setback is 15 feet, which is very large for a 3,000 square foot lot. So again, RPA is aware of those setbacks we need to adjust. And then the bottom left is the TRN3 zone the applicant wishes to go to. You can see it's just like the RN3, except there is a reduction in lot size and setbacks. And then the maximum height is reduced. And currently in RN3, for mixed use, you can go to 65 feet. The TRN3 reduces that to 50 foot. So there's a reduction in height for mixed use. And the setbacks are reduced from, 15 to 5. And the lot size is reduced from 5,000 to 3,000. Multi-unit. I said mixed use, multi-unit. So staff recommends the TRN3.
All right, any questions from the commission for staff?
And we did receive opposition emails. It's in your spreadsheet.
Is the applicant present? I bet there's opposition present because I saw people walking toward, okay. If the applicant could come up to the podium, you'll have 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay.
Please start with your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Crystal Valek, and the property that I own and we're in discussion is at 920 Forest Avenue. I'm basically here to provide construction lots. I am unfortunately, and I apologize, I'm not very computer savvy, so I did actually have some help in creating the picture that's on the screen right now. So I am in no way a builder. I am not proposing any houses. I realize in that photo, in that image, that the diagram of where the driveways are, I have no idea where those driveways are going to go. I just had someone help me to create that. They said I needed a site plan. So I realized that some people might be opposed for reasons regarding where those driveways are, but that's not my goal. And basically, I'm really just here to provide kind of what I would say like the best and highest usage of the land. So that's kind of where I'm at. Any questions?
Any questions for the applicant? All right, you can step back and you'll have 2 minutes to rebut after the opposition. Opposition, if you want to speak, raise your hand, please. Okay, so there's 9 minutes to share between all of you, so please be judicious with your time, and please make sure that you're not simply repeating what the person before you has said. Come on up. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Diane O'Sullivan, and I'm on the North Chattanooga Neighborhood Association leading the Responsible Growth Subcommittee. We had a meeting with our neighborhood association, and I had a great conversation with the applicant here. And I just wanted to say we oppose this at this time because there is no plan for the development. It's just her interest in selling the property in amongst single residential units. And so we think that when we saw that the design was in place to put 3 houses on there, we're not in opposition to that at this time. It's not something that's even real. It's just an idea that was put on for her to show someone who might buy it what's possible. So we think this is a premature request to change the zoning, and we'd like to wait until someone who buys the property from her actually has a plan to develop it, and then we could consider what it's really going to be before rezoning is occurring. Thank you.
Next up on the opposition.
Hi, I'm Mina Beckham, 1018 Fairmount Ave. I live just catty corner to this lot. I just wanted to verbalize my opinion that I think we can all agree that one of the charms of North Shore is tree cover. And I just wanted to state my opinion that any new development in North Shore should embrace that look and feel. I'm really pro-density, particularly in North Shore and the downtown core. I'm not necessarily here to dissuade the planning commission from allowing 3 houses on this lot. I just, the points that were just brought up, I agree with. And I also just wanted to point out that every recent development in North Shore has clear cut every lot. And it's absolutely changing the look and feel of our neighborhood. The lack of mature trees that are being kept, there's a lot of mature trees on this lot. So for me, as I'm like walking through my neighborhood and, I have to look at this lot like forever. So I'd like some consideration to be made when proposing these developments around tree cover. And I know that we just had a new tree ordinance passed, but I don't believe it applies to this lot because it's not 2 acres. So that is.
1 acre is the minimum for the.
1
tree
acre,
ordinance.
yeah, so it's 0.2. So I just wanted to bring that up as my general opposition, not to density or development, but to look and feel of the existing neighborhood.
Thank you. Next from the opposition, we have 6 minutes and 20 seconds left.
Hi, my name is Adam Gerson. I live at 907 Forest Avenue. I know there's a lot of people who come here a lot. You'll probably never see me again unless this issue comes up. I care only about the safety of my wife and the other residents who live on this street. Traditionally, prior to Crystal clearing it out, this house was resided by drug users and criminals. And I don't see that it serves our neighborhood to create more lots that could be inhabited by criminals and drug users. Separating the lot with no plan allows for that to happen. And so I would just implore you to not do anything that would potentially make our neighborhood less safe. Thank you.
Next from the opposition.
Yes, Matt Walker, current resident at 1120 Fairmount, about 2-minute walk away, under contract for the house next door at 916 Forest Avenue. I've lived in the area for 5 years. I can second what Adam talked about the drug use, the attempted murder there. It's been a constant nuisance in the neighborhood. This lot being split into 3 pieces, you're going to be putting 3 very small lots in without the setbacks. The other thing this map doesn't really show is there's a steep drop off on Boylston up there. So not only are you going to have the shallow setbacks, you're going to have a steep driveway coming off Boylston into the physical yard there. You'll have that exact same issue on the corner there of Eleanor and Boylston. So the dimensions of the lot are a little bit deceiving. It's actually going to be a much smaller lot than what you're seeing there in terms of true dimensions. Second point I want to make is, just overall safety. In North Chattanooga, as we all know, lots of hills, lots of blind spots, lots of curves, lots of risk of a traffic accident with someone turning on or off Boylston with the density of those lots. And the biggest concern I have of all is with all that density, the shallow setbacks, you're going to have vehicles sticking into the sidewalk, and you're going to have children walking up and down Boylston to and from school that are going to be forced to walk out into Boylston. And the unthinkables, there's just a huge risk of the unthinkable happening. My wife and I, who's here, just a couple months ago, there was 3 children, not even 3 blocks, or about a block away by Sylvan that we watched get hit by a car going around a blind curve. And you're setting that same issue up there with that unnecessary density. And I think safety is something that we should, prize above all else. So.
We have just over 3 minutes left for the opposition.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Matt Toomey, and I live at 905 Forest, which is the black roof, second in from Sylvan and Forest, a little bit more over to the left. 2 more down. There you go. I'm in extreme opposition to trying to rezone this. I've reached out to RPA, and they seem to say that RN3 and TRN3 are not that much different, and we're actually making it better by going to TRN3. And my thought behind it is, what it's zoned for now, that happened in the past. It's the responsibility of us now going forward and being good stewards of the community and doing things in accordance with the city vision. I don't think this is in accordance with the vision of the city or this neighborhood. There's beautiful homes, new construction homes. The neighborhood is transitioning itself. And what we're doing is we're changing a zone to allow for whatever may happen in the future. The plan is great. It's not accurate. So, I mean, change the zone, and I think it allows for apartment buildings. It allows for overpopulating a school district or a school that's zoned, that's already at capacity. Like we said earlier, teens got hit right around the corner on Sylvan. My wife wrote an email to the city prior to that happening and was, devastated to see it actually happen and then go, this happened. So safety concerns are huge. Setbacks and maxing out this lot is going to create a vision issue. There's a fire department right down the street that takes off. If there's somebody with AirPods or music on, they're going to get hit. There's children that walk back and forth to Normal Park. This is not something that I believe should be approved or even really contemplated approving based on what we're seeing today. So thank you.
Anyone else from opposition? All right, thank you very much. Let's have the applicant come back. Applicant, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, good afternoon again. Okay, well, what I heard from the people that oppose is that they are really concerned about safety. They're concerned about their children. They're concerned about an accident that happened. And I am 100% with them. I'm concerned about safety. What I would say is that this particular lot is completely flat. There are no hills coming up Sylvan. If anybody has been in that area, it is uber dangerous there because the street does come straight up and then you have to turn right or left. But this particular lot is actually flat. And there are a lot of mature trees there. My uncle is the one who owned the property. So he was there for 45 years. I have been there 1 year. I did agreeing with them. There were vagrants and homeless people. Mostly they were all homeless people that were living in the house, and I did evict all of them. The house is currently boarded up. The house, unfortunately, is not, if I could fix it up, I would. The house was built in 1920. And if anybody is aware of how homes were built in the 1920s, they just built them on pylons. So this particular home has actually been condemned several times. So the house is unfortunately going to have to come down. And there is a lot of new construction. And the people who are touching my property, both of those were originally one lots that were then separated into two. The house that's off from Eleanor, that was one lot separated into two. So I mean, I guess I don't know if it will end up being able to be separated into three or just be separated into two. But I think with the ability to change it to the transitional will just allow for there to at least to be a division in the property.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant or opposition from the Planning Commission? Any discussion amongst the Planning Commission? Yes, sir, Mr. Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I definitely hear some of the concerns that are being voiced here today. And I think I'd like to start by saying that my first home in Highland Park was previously a house that was inhabited by homeless people and vagrants that my wife and I purchased. It was 792 square feet. It was a little bitty 1-bedroom house, and we fixed it up. And I actually sold it to one of my staff members who doesn't have any intentions of having children. That's the size of the house that they wanted. I don't think that it's a fair through line to say that because a house is particularly a small size, that it's going to be inhabited by drug dealers and vagrants. We have this issue going on in town right now, where it's really hard to find an affordable place to live. One of the ways that you can do that is by constructing houses that are not giant McMansions that cost $750,000 to live in. I actually think this is a good thing for our community. Making the availability for a few families to, if I had a difficult house down the street that was probably beyond the sense of a pro forma to fix it up, and somebody came in with this housing typology. My house right now in Hickson is just under 1,000 square feet. I've got 3 kids, my wife, and a dog that live in it. I think the statement about a small house, that I don't care for that. And I think this is appropriate, especially in this part of town. I think that's how you end up with a tax base that can sustain growing schools and fixing infrastructure and making all this stuff pencil out on paper. And I'm going to make a motion to approve it.
A motion to approve. Is there a second? I have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve. What's the will of the commission? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, no, the opposition time has concluded. You had 9 minutes. We're going to do that vote again. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Moving on to case 2025-54. This case will go on to City Council next month.
Yeah, this is case 2025-54. This is a request to rezone from RN16, which is a residential neighborhood zone, to RN2, which is again another residential neighborhood zone. Proposed use is townhouses. It's less than an acre in size. It's 0.95 acres. Number of units proposed is anywhere from 18 to 27 units. The applicant didn't really have a definite number in mind. There's been no zoning history for this piece of property. However, to the west, you can see the red leader line at 7440, 7444, and 7446 and 48 Pinewood Drive was rezoned from R1 to RTZ with conditions in 2022. It's important to note that that rezoning was prior to the adoption of the plan in August of 2022. It's a vacant piece of property. To the north is single unit residential and institutional use, which is a church. To the east is vacant land. To the south is institutional, I believe it's a school. And immediately abutting this site to the west is vacant land. And you go further west, you do see single family dwellings. This is a view of the site. North of the site, which is the church. North of the site, again, single family dwellings. This is east of the site, which is the vacant land. West of the site, single family dwelling. This is in the East Brainerd area plan, which recommends suburban residential. Here's a closer view of that. You can see the property here in the red circle, suburban residential. This is what the image or site plan that was submitted with the request. Again, these are townhome units. Another view of what that potentially could look like. This request is not compatible with the suburban residential place type recommendation in the East Brainerd area plan. The adopted plan does state attached dwelling units are permitted as a secondary use, but they have secondary use review criteria. And this request does not meet that as it's not located on a major corridor. This request is not compatible with adjacent uses, which again are single family detached uses. So staff recommended to deny this request. I think the applicant has shared this screen here. He wants to talk about during his part of the presentation, but staff recommends to deny. Again, doesn't meet the plan recommendation and adjacent uses.
Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Oh,
sorry.
No, sorry. There was opposition email in regards to this one.
So are you the applicant?
Yes,
yes. Okay. Is there opposition present? Okay. So applicant, you'll have 7 minutes. Please start with your name and address. You can go ahead. You can start.
Oh, well, I'm just Joseph Postel. I own the two properties, but I'm turning it over to my son. And
Okay.
whatever he wants to do is what I'm working with.
Okay.
sir.
Sir, what's your name and address?
Moses Postel,
Thank you.
7458, 7460, Pinewood Drive. Yes, sir. Thank you. There is townhomes and multiple family units zoning along Pinewood Drive. 7446 is zoned for RN3, which is multiple family apartments and so forth. That's west to us. That's less than 100 feet. To the east of us, off St. Lucie, there's Savannah townhomes, right, not even a quarter of a mile, right off of Pinewood Drive. Right behind us, there is St. Nicholas, which is a school. So the property is less than half a mile from Gun Barrel, which is commercial. So we are not opposing, we're not trying to come in and build like $500,000 townhomes. We're trying to be a modest townhomes that's affordable to help to Chattanooga crisis and the shortage of homes. But if you come outside of our yard, it's there. It's townhomes everywhere. Down the streets, Savannah. And even now, 7452 was a body shop. You can Google it. It's Russell Body Shop. So, and we from here. We from there. We grew up there. We've been there for 45 years. My granddaddy owned that land. And hopefully I get a townhome to live in too. Because the houses market is extremely high right now. So, and some of our neighbors came and support us, the Martin family. We thank them for coming from Georgia and, and support. But they doing this on Pinewood Drive. It's not like they're not doing this. They doing it. You can see it everywhere. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant from Planning Commission? Right, seeing none. Opposition, you have 9 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to adjust this mic because I'm a shorty. Sharon C., I have Wanda Norris, and I have Cynthia Williams with me. We are part of the neighborhood, and they are correct. The Smiths, we all grew up. We are 3 generations, 3rd generation in Pinewood Drive. We all have land and home there. We are here to oppose it because we are saturated already with the townhomes that have come. We want to keep it single-family residential as much as we can. We have been on that road since 1941 with 1 plow and 1 mule. Our families built that road, and they know because they're part of it. We're not opposing them building. We want to make it single-family homes, especially right in front of the church. We have been in this community I don't know how long you've been there, Wanda, forever. But we have been there, and we love this community. And we don't mind them building, just not more townhomes and apartments. We're saturated with that on Pinewood. And we just want to know why everybody loves Pinewood. I guess because we do. And they're building all kinds of things there. We have 3 developments going on right now on Pinewood. 1, a part of my family sold. The biggest portion of that land was sold by the Frazier family a year ago, 2 years ago now. But the negotiation with the developer and our family was to keep it single-family homes. They agreed. They even named part of the subdivision after our uncle and grandfather. Now, where this property is right across from the church. And I know you guys don't deal with traffic, but one of the issues is the amount of traffic that's been put on Pinewood and Mintom over the last several years. Our older person who used to come to these meetings passed away after the pandemic. So we don't have that voice. So we're the 3rd generation. We feel it's time for us to have a voice. We don't mind them building. We just don't want more townhomes. He is correct. There are townhomes all around us, but that's the problem. It's too many. There's a development at the corner of Gun Barrel and Mintom that's supposed to be high-end townhomes. There's a development on Gun Barrel across which are several apartments. We have the Tesla company there. We have Publix there. On the right side of us, the left side of us, on Jenkins' side, we have a development what the Frasers are building, over 40 homes going there. And then we have another development next to property that my grandfather owns. And that's going to be some townhomes. So we're tired of townhomes, guys. We want single-family homes to stay there. That's what we built it on, with that one plow and that one mule, and that's what we like for it to stay. We're not opposed to development, just no more townhomes. They could build probably 2 beautiful homes that used to be there, if I recall. They don't want to talk, they've got me talking, but they know that the houses were there. There were family homes there before. Just replace it with 2 nice, beautiful homes that families can live in. And Cynthia lives right next door to a big apartment development that's been there now about, what, Cynthia, about 7 to 8 years. So we lost our voice because our pastor retired, Reverend Bobby Hampton, and Miss Sarah Cotton, who used to be our neighborhood association spokesperson. I guess I inherited that job since she's my cousin. But I just want us to think about it, you all to think about it. And I want the developers to think about it and put something there, yes, but make it conducive to the neighborhood and not interruptive to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more from the opposition? All right, seeing none, I'll have the applicant step back up. You have 2 minutes for rebuttal. Is there any questions? Sorry, for the opposition.
Yes, sir. Again, 100 feet from our property west of us is a multi-family new construction, which is gonna build 30+ homes, and they zone for RN3. So that person probably came in from out of town, bought the land. They're not even probably from here. We are from here. Again, the church have a church in front of it, and they have a church in back of it. The front of that church sell food out of it every weekend, every other weekend. But they did. We're not doing no harm. And townhomes are on that street. So why should we be denied? We pay our taxes for the last 30, 40 years. Why should we be denied when 100 feet away, that's an RN3? I wonder, did they go to their meeting and stop that? When they building multi-family dwelling units, more construction, more bulldozers, more industrial instruments gonna be used there. They're gonna be used on our little lot. So 100 feet away, meaning from not far, I can throw a rock and hit the other side of that property. So why should we be denied? It's there, right behind us, in front of us, it's there. And you're not seeing midterm in front of the school, it's there too. It's RN2, it's on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right, discussion from the Planning Commission, Ms. Adamson.
Yes, my question for the applicant is, it looks like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
You can come back up to the podium.
according to the current zoning, a permitted use is a cottage court development, is that correct? For RN16 for this?
Yes, somebody could do a cottage court.
Have you all looked at exploring a cottage court?
That's a residential house with an ADU behind it?
I'm going to defer back to you guys.
No, it's not. It's a little different. It's like, it's hard to, single family detached on different form. It wouldn't be townhomes. It'd be like
It's basically
I have it
one road,
open if
it's
you want me
one
to read
road in, and it's multiple living units on one lot, right?
based around the cottage green in the middle. I'm sure how big your property is. It may be a little difficult there. It's a little hard on the fly to tell you
Yes,
if you can do it or not. I don't know.
yes, I understand.
And my reason for that is to be able to look at the permitted uses for what you're able to do by right now. So I was just wondering how that might connect with what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, our goal is to put in a road, a cul-de-sac, and build townhomes.
Do you know the name of the development that C&E did? That's Cottage Court. That may be something for you guys to look at.
I don't. That was done prior to the new zoning code.
Right.
This is new zoning code. Maybe it does have some pretty strict standards in this new cottage court. And it's mentioned several times, these other townhomes are on Pinewood. Again, those were done prior to the new plan that was adopted in 2022. So he's right, there are some townhomes on Pinewood, but they're all, again, rezoned prior to the plan.
But it probably would be worth taking a look at a cottage court because it might actually fit.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
This
sir.
sounds very similar to what we had back with the Glenwood neighborhood situation, where they withdrew, maybe a similar withdrawing what you wanted to do and go back and look at the cottage recommendation that's being made, an alternative plan that they're more receptive to.
So the reason for being denied, is it because I'm just kind of confused because I see RN2 townhomes going up on the same street that I live on. What's the reason for denial? Is it because the lot not big enough or I'm just not understanding?
Well, the staff report, sir, it's there for you and you have a copy of it. This commission hasn't denied or approved anything yet.
Yes, sir. Because I'm just wondering because I left to the property that I cut every other weekend and I see this multi-family units going up and I'm being denied not being denied, but you know, for a townhome.
Understood. Commissioner Caudle, was that all? Okay.
Got a question for the opposition.
Yes, sir. The opposition could come up, please. Mr. Byrd.
You mentioned a neighborhood association. Is that something that meets regularly? Do you have an active neighborhood
We are a
association?
community
Community
association.
association.
Our leader passed away in 2020, so we have not really had meetings, and our pastor left right after the pandemic. So we're actually rebuilding the whole community. It is being gutted by investors and developers, and there are townhomes coming next to a property that my family owns. We were in opposition to it, but when I came to this meeting, it was told that they had them reconstruct the development because you guys denied it initially because of how it was going to be restructured. You came back and said, if you redevelop this, and Commissioner, you were here leading the discussion, that it was okay because they had met the criteria that the neighborhood, the HOA across the street and one across from Ms. Williams came to complain about. So it is going to be townhomes, and it was, we didn't want any skinny tall buildings and skinny tall townhomes. You know, sometimes people look at things differently. And I guess we are kind of old school and we look at it differently. We just don't want more saturation of just that kind of building.
Right. And
Single
what
family
I'm trying to
home?
get at is there an organization currently meeting that could facilitate this conversation? It sounds like y'all are in a rebuilding phase. Is
Yes,
that
we are.
correct? So
We're in
there-
the rebuilding phase. We're getting-
Hopefully in the coming months, there will be a group that can meet and facilitate this conversation
probably
between
can, yes, sir.
these two groups. Because to your point, people do see things differently. I see townhomes as a good entry into the market for somebody to buy a house, build equity. In the case where in other circumstances, they may only be able to afford an apartment if it's a choice between a single family detached home and a multifamily building.
Correct.
And those are the only choices. They have to rent, they can't build equity. The townhouse provides that opportunity. So it sounds like both parties here want what's best for the neighborhood.
Correct.
What I would really like to see, honestly, if there's not a huge rush, I think it would be great for the two parties to see if they can come to some sort of agreement of what is best for the neighborhood in this case. You know, if it's not attached townhomes, the cottage courts idea might have legs to it, where cottage court essentially is single family units around a cul-de-sac, but it's on a smaller scale. It just has a different feeling to it. They all front onto a courtyard of sorts. So I mean, at the end of the day, what I'd really like to see is the two parties come together and discuss it, maybe in coordination with your city council person. I guess, we can't make a motion to defer without the consent of the applicant, correct?
We can make a motion to defer.
Or sorry, not defer, withdraw. They need to withdraw.
I think that's correct on the withdrawal. We can do a deferral regardless of withdrawal. I think the applicant.
It's more or less the same thing. In my mind, a withdrawal provides them a more open-ended timeline, and there's not a rush for them to come back, but a deferral would be fine.
No, I was just gonna say, I do think they should pursue it, at least look at a cottage court and see if it would fit. And
So
it might, because it sounds like it might be appealing to both.
I'm prepared to make a motion if there's no other.
I believe Commissioner Lyle would like to be heard first, and then I'll come back to you, Nathan, for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Byrd. I think that's a great suggestion. I was just going to say, as the chairman of the board of Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, be happy to facilitate conversation with the team that put that cottage court together, the one that's over off of Vance Avenue in Highland Park. It's like the 2000 block of Vance is, I think, our only local example of it, but I could also help connect you with some resources. There's an architect out of Seattle named Ross Chapin, who has a really good pattern book that you can kind of look at some examples of what those look like. I think you can still achieve a good amount of density, and I think it's worth exploring, but I'd be happy to help connect any pieces.
Sounds good.
Mr. Byrd, I believe you had a motion.
Yes, I'm going to motion to defer 60 days and hope that the two parties can come together with their city council person and come to some sort of arrangement.
All right, I have a motion that's been properly seconded for a 60-day deferral. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. This case is deferred 2 months. And I will tell you that your new council person, Cody Harvey, Councilman Cody Harvey, was sworn in about 4 hours ago, but you should reach out to him in the meantime. Thank you very much. Moving on to case M 2025-55.
Yes, this is a mandatory referral to close an unopened alley or right-of-way. It's in North Chattanooga off Tremont Street. It's to combine the two adjacent properties on either side of this alley. Here's an aerial view of the property. You can see everything to the north and south and east and west is single unit residential. Here's a view of the site. Those steps is where that right-of-way would be located at. Here's a view of the site from Tremont Street. Again, you see primarily single family. Here's another view of the site from East Manning Street. And the sign's located where the alley right-of-way is. East Manning Street. Here's the site plan that was submitted with a request. The area in red is the right-of-way closure is located. And it looks like there's some existing structures based on this site plan that may be located in the right-of-way. It's hard to tell, but it does look like some structures probably encroach within that right-of-way. This right-of-way has been historically platted and has never been approved by the city or the property owner. The applicant is requesting to close the right-of-way to combine the land with adjacent property owners. Again, there's several encroachments that appear to be encroaching this right-of-way, and closing this right-of-way would make those be located on private property. A portion of this right-of-way contains slopes with an approximately 35% grade or higher. The topography makes it very difficult for a future right-of-way to be constructed at this location. It does meet the right-of-way closure and abandonment policy, so staff recommended to approve, and we did receive some emails in opposition to this request. And it's in your spreadsheet in front of you.
Brian, did we have comments from Public Works, the engineering division, on closing this right-of-way?
Let me look real quick. No, they didn't provide you.
They were in our staff review and they were supportive of recommending to approve.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff on this one? All right, is the applicant present? That is a yes. Is there opposition present? Okay.
Hello, my name is Neil Messler, and I represent the property at 401 Tremont, which is on, I guess would be the north side, and then the adjacent property at 518 East Manning Street. And live in North Chattanooga. I've lived on Tremont since, can't believe it, 1995. That's 30 years. I've been off of Tremont for about a year and a half of that time, but the houses I lived in then, I could literally walk out my street and roll a tennis ball down, hit the street. So I've been here a long time. Moved on to Tremont in 1995, like I say, and started renovating properties. It was a time when it was a scary place to walk down during the day. And between me and I can see her name, some other names, we really took the neighborhood on and turned it a different direction and kind of created what it was today. Went on from there to do a project on Main Street. If anyone knows where Bluegrass Grill is, that's in what's called Lofts on Main. I did that development with two other partners, and that was before anyone was on Main Street. I only share those examples with you because I genuinely believe in responsible development. I love older homes. I love saving old structures, and that's important to me. So I believe in keeping integrity of the neighborhood. So with that said, why I'm here today is, of course, the alley closure. Middle of last year, we got a letter from the city of Chattanooga. One of those letters you get, you don't want to read it, but it was a good letter to get. On your map up there, it shows 401 Tremont. It does show a structure. That structure has since been demolished because the letter from the city of Chattanooga was saying that this is condemned and needs to be taken down. 100%. You get the letter, you don't want to do it, but I totally agreed with it because that building had not been lived in for more than 30 years. So it was boarded up and it did not need to be on the street anymore. So we went in there, instead of putting it on the city, we went and demolished it. And so that's had caused us to start thinking, okay, what is the future of this? We started thinking about the future of this property back in 2017, 18. We were thinking about doing some rezoning changes back then. That zoning does not fit anymore. We don't anticipate doing any zoning change because right now, single family is really where this needs to go. And the big question is, the picture you're looking at right now really sums it up a lot. You see those steps? That's alley property, okay? Those are about 20 steps approximately. Those steps range in height from, 3 inches to 10 inches. Left and right, up and down. There's a big magnolia tree on the right. When those leaves fall onto those steps, it's like an ice skating rink. And I think it'd be amazing to have a walkable corridor that the city of Chattanooga does from that street up to Manning. It'd be amazing. But I also don't think the city's going to do it. So the question comes, who is going to do it? It only makes sense for when we start new construction on like a house to the right and everything. If that was abandoned, the retaining walls and everything could then be taken on by the developer to make it a beautiful place. Now, it's not needed. Sometimes there's special stipulations that come out to keep the developer to have it walkable. Problem is, the elevation from Tremont to Manning is 52 feet, over 161 feet. If you were to divide that out by 7 inches per step, you would have 89 steps to go from Tremont up to Manning. Now, to put that in perspective, we're on the 4th floor. You'd be doing the steps twice here, plus another story. So I think there's a higher, better use. Question is, who does it? I believe it's best for the developer to take this, to abandon the alley, the developer take on the new infrastructure for retaining walls and whatnot. And that would help beautify the neighborhood and be better for everybody. If for some reason it was denied from here to city council, it's pretty easy. You go build a single family house and put a fence 15 feet on either side. And then you have an eyesore that I don't believe that the city will ever go do anything with or maintain because they haven't done it so far. So I think there is a higher, better use, and I think it's better done on the private market at this point in time. So any questions for me today?
Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Byrd.
Is there any sort of documentation, paperwork, anything to put in writing that is what is going to happen? Or is this an idea at this point that could be, if the property is sold or changes hands, this idea could disappear?
I don't fully understand your question. I mean, the application is simply to close the alley, okay? So then any responsibility for maintenance or liability repairs would go on to those property owners for right now.
Right, and you're talking about bringing this connection between Tremont and Manning Street?
No, we are not. The goal is to have it approved to close the alley.
Right.
The property would split down the middle between each property owner, and that connectivity would stop. Nobody's using it now. There was a picture that you showed a little bit earlier from the top down, right there. You see that cut? There's only one reason that cut there is there, because we had to take an excavator down that hill to take the house down. Otherwise, that was all brush. Nobody's using this. Nobody's using this.
Right, but you were just talking about having a connection being put on the private developer and saying that would be a great idea.
I've seen that happen in the past.
Right.
And I think those stipulations do not work here because you have that cost then would be put on the home on the right and the home on the left. It can't absorb that kind of infrastructure for that kind of development, for the community. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. We'll have opposition come up. You've Got 9 minutes.
Thank you. I had a wonderful conversation with Neil Messler a few weeks ago. And again, we are opposing this at this time because there is no plan for development of the property. So we'd love to know what the thoughts are going to be there. Is it going to be cottage core? I've shared some plans that I've seen online around cottage core with him to give him some ideas of what's possible in the future. He is really passionate about Tremont Street. He's really passionate about our North Chattanooga neighborhood. He's been here a long time, and he's a highly valued neighbor to us. We just don't think this abandonment is in the is being asked for at the right time. What is the plan to develop these properties? If it's just single-family homes, say that. If it's going to be something that could have access up to Manning, that might be of interest. But our neighborhood association is about 1.5 years old. And we had a meeting and went over this proposal, this particular request, and said, what could we do with that? What should we do with that? Is that a place to put trees to deal with our tree canopy? Is that a place that we could work with the city to develop it into a path between East Manning and down to Tremont as we get more and more density in our neighborhood? So we don't think this is the time to give away public land to private owners without further consideration about what is their plan to build on them, what is our plan in terms of the neighborhood association to do, work with the city to see what is possible with the 15-foot alley that runs between two streets in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Sullivan. Any questions for the opposition? Seeing none, do I have discussion or a motion from a member of the Planning Commission? Not everybody at once.
So can you further define the plan? I mean, I think that's what we would be considering, because if you have an idea, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, no problem. Let's start with, there is no definitive plan here right now, okay? It's just for alley closure, and then we'll keep figuring out from there. Now, what I mean by that specifically, okay? I'm not trying not to talk in circles here, but it's residential zoning right now. I think it's RN 1 through 5.
It is.
Okay. Whether this alley is closed or not, you can build a single family home on either one. So it doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter if the alley's closed. It's not going to make any difference to a future development, other than when we go and develop this, do we put a fence along the alley line and the city's responsible for that right of way? Or do we take on the building of new retaining walls and everything else with that development? Because that's a huge cost difference, okay? In terms of actually, to close the alley, I would venture to say will cost more to develop these properties, because you're going to be taking on that extra retaining wall and everything else. It's going to close it down where others can't use it, no question. But to me, there's a question of, we're renovating a kitchen right now. We're going to have a brand new kitchen cabinets. Are we going to keep the old 20-year-old appliances in, or are we going to put brand new appliances? What my reference to the appliances is, that's the alley. It looks terrible to the community, and it's a liability also. I mean, if anyone walked that, you know what I'm talking about. So no matter what you guys decide today, which I certainly would love your approval, the site can be built within traditional zoning no matter what. We do not need this alley zoned to build any house. It's already zoned residential, single family, doesn't matter. So there is no predetermined plan like, oh, we need this alley closure to cause something to happen. No, it's like, are we going to put new appliances in or not? Let's just know on the front end. When we start drawing plans, do we draw a wall up and cut uphill? Or do we go straight across for the 15 feet of the alley closure and beautify and prettify the entire area, and then let the future owners of these single family homes take care of that property? Because I don't think the city's going to, I'll tell you the city's not going to do it. I'm going to say something that's kind of funny. As we're driving here, down 4th, the median, the grass in the median is calf high right now. So if they can't do the median on 4th, they're probably not going to be doing this alley ever. So
I will tell you that is a problem every single year for everyone who has grass in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
I know. But
because
I'm just
it happens
saying,
all over the city, and there's the same number of landscapers that there were 3 months ago.
it's easy to have the vision though, like, oh, the city will take this on eventually. And if it hasn't happened now, if it,
It's
if
unlikely.
this is, it's not going to happen. That's just the realistic.
I can say it's unlikely. And to the commissioner's question, to be fair, I would not expect full design docs if the applicant doesn't know how wide his lot's going to be. So there's that.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve staff recommendation, and just encourage you guys to maybe huddle up between now and city council. And if there's anything that comes from it, maybe the plans change.
Yeah, easy.
All right, we have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve. Any discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. This will go, this does not go, does this go to city council?
It does,
It
but not
does.
next month. It goes back to Transportation Department. They'll look at it and
We
they'll
don't have
make it.
that.
Public Works.
Thank you.
I can't get, yeah, so to go Public Works. Once Public Works looks at it, it will go on to city council when they
Okay.
get their
thank you.
review.
So a couple of months it'll be at city
Yes,
council. Okay.
probably less, but it could be,
Okay.
they'll let them know.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move to case 2025-56.
Sure, 56 and 57 are two separate applications, but the same property, so we'll go through them one at a time. But this is 2025-56. This is in the county. It's for 320 West Hills Drive. This is not a zoning case. This is a special permit for a restaurant in the C1 Tourist Commercial District. Again, it's a proposed restaurant, has an existing house on it, and you see the red circle, that's the existing house where the restaurant will be. This overall site is 4.0 acres in size. Just immediately to the north is the city of Chattanooga. Everything to the south is in the county. In 2023, the applicant submitted an application to rezone this site from C1 to C2 for a restaurant. There was opposition at that time. The application was withdrawn by the applicant. Here's an aerial view of the site. To the north is Black Creek, that's single unit residential. Again, this piece of property has a single family home on it. To the south is a campground, and to the southeast is single unit residential. Here's a view of the site. You can see the driveway in to that existing home. Another view of the site. This is north of the site, which is some single family dwellings. This is south of the site, the existing RV travel trailer campground. East of the site, again, single family dwellings. This is west of the site. This property is located in the Lookout Valley Land Use Plan, which was adopted in 2003, and it recommends low-density residential for this site. Primary uses include single-family detached with a density of 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre, and also has a goal of maintaining the small town residential character of the area. Here's a closer view of the place type or land use recommendation. You see, again, it's low-density residential. Here's the site plan that was submitted with the application. Again, this is a special permit for the restaurant to be located in this existing house. We did receive comments in the Hamilton County Building Inspection Department because this has a R2 to the south of the site and not really sure where that house sits on the property. Building inspections will need to see a site plan from a licensed surveyor showing the restaurant to be located outside the R2 zone at the time. Again, the house is currently on an existing septic system. Records show the house being built in 1958 with no record of existing septic system location. WWTA has confirmed sewer connection is not available at this location. The owner will need approval from groundwater protection and environmental health prior to building permit issued for the restaurant. Again, as I said earlier, the next case is for a travel trailer campground. The fire marshal had concerns of the flag lot being on this property along adjoining West Hill Drives, and it being approximately 43 feet in width. Building inspection will require approval from the county fire marshal and the road width for emergency vehicle access to this site. There's also an existing swimming pool behind the house that is going to be used for the travel trailer campground. Environmental health and the fire marshal will need to approve that as the use will change from a private pool to a public pool. So taking all that information into play, staff come up with a recommendation to defer for 30 days. The request is not compatible with Lookout Valley Land Use Plan. However, the site was rezoned C1 prior to the plan adoption in 2003 as it is rezoned in 1970s. A small-scale restaurant in an existing single-family dwelling may be compatible with adjacent residential and campground land uses. We do have concerns of the restaurant being able to operate at this location, again, due to groundwater concerns and fire department concerns. There's not enough information provided to staff to adequately review these issues. So staff recommends to defer for 30 days for the applicant to get with groundwater protection and environmental health to see if it's even viable for a restaurant to be located at this location. And we did receive opposition to both cases, this 56 and 57.
I just want to note for the agenda, the first case, 2025-56, is for the restaurant, and 57 is the travel trailer.
Yes, that's correct. And basically, yes, as one says restaurant, should be travel trailer.
It's just the agenda that.
The agenda's right, yeah. But it's the same recommendation for both. If you're going to go through 57, I'll be glad to. It's the same site, just to the west of the restaurant, but it's the same concerns the staff has.
I'm going to take them together, so if you have any additional items.
We don't.
Okay, so 56 and 57, we're going to hear from the applicant and opposition together to save time, because these are companion cases. Is the applicant present for this project? All right, is there opposition present? Right? I could have the applicant come up, and we are dealing with, again, case 56 and case 57 for both the travel trailer and the restaurant at once.
You're gonna do it together, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you have 7 minutes.
Yeah. My name is Virendra Mustafir. I live at 320 West Hills Drive, Chattanooga, Tennessee. The property that I have right now, I'm not asking, I'm asking just for the special permit so I can get everything else taken care of from the fire marshal. And the reason why, I have a RV park next to me, and I don't see any concern with Black Creek, the golf course. You know, I'm not part of them. And the restaurant itself would benefit the RV park and anybody around it. And it's an organic restaurant where we grow everything. So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to go ahead, see if I can get the special permit for that, and I can go ahead and deal with the fire department. We currently have a road there, because when I came here the last time for a C3, I wanted the liquor license, and I had litigation with the park. So I don't have any more litigation now. I have all the water coming in, and I spoke to the groundwater people that we can get septic for the restaurant. So that's all taken care of. I just need to get that permit. And I have a road, a 25-feet road that comes in there. And my restaurant won't affect the golf course. Matter of fact, the golf course has a restaurant. And that's a different kind of subdivision away from me. And I don't even touch them. I'm like maybe about, if you look at it, they're maybe about 50 yards away from me. And where the house sits, it doesn't sit in the R2. It sits right there, the C1. The driveway, I can widen the driveway 25 feet, accessible to the fire marshal, what they need. And I have enough water. And there is a fire hydrant, maybe about 75 feet away from her. So basically, that's all I need, is that permit for the restaurant. And the RV park is just basically some like 15 RVs and some glamping. And I'm already dealing with the commercial, because next door to me, the RV park is all on my property anyway. And I do have a food truck I used to have there making pizza, and I was selling the pizzas to the RV place, and I was giving it to Black Creek anyway. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant before we move on to the opposition? All right, seeing none, please raise your hand if you plan to speak for the opposition. All right, thank you, Commissioner. And just first person can come on up. I remind you, you have 9 minutes to share collectively among you.
My name is Lily Womack. I'm the resort manager for the last few years for Raccoon Mountain Campground and Caverns. Our main concern about the restaurant was the alcohol. He also, we have a great deal of issues with law enforcement jumping the fence because they missed the driveway. They usually park by cabin 3 and try to figure out how to get over there. Then he did rent to a customer that pulled a gun on one of my employees. However, we did later discover it was a post-traumatic stress person, and it was not a real gun. But at the time That concern was not mine. My concern are the people who are trying to take a vacation and feel that their children and their animals are safe. I have contacted the applicant several times. His contractors speed down that road, and he says he'll take care of it, which he has. However, it doesn't stop the fact that you cannot speed down that road. We have campers, we have children, we have tents, and we have animals. And I'll let others speak.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Ashley Santos. I live at 4261 Obar Drive. So I reside in the part of the picture that the house backs up to where the house is, that he's proposing a restaurant and extending the campground. I am sure other people have various concerns about security, about increased traffic, about noise pollution. We all moved to the Black Creek area to enjoy living. Like, we love Chattanooga. I'm not opposed to tourism. I'm not opposed to restaurants, but having it in the backyard is a concern of mine. Having little kids playing in the backyard, but then the restaurant overlooks the backyard of the house is a major concern of mine. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hello, I am Gail Sorensen and I live at 4276 Obar Drive. If you were to walk out my front door and walk up to what my husband says is about 400 feet, you would walk into that gentleman's restaurant that's being proposed. I get out in the yard. My husband's almost 94. I feel like we're going to be sitting ducks from the view of the restaurants up high, and he's going to want to take advantage of the view, and we're in that view. So in my heart, I don't know what he's picturing, but the community on Obar, and it's a pretty long road, would be concerned about noise, light. Is he expecting to use the outside? We've lived on Obar for 23 years. We love the community. It is quiet. It is peaceful. That home has always been what we consider country. This has been somewhat of not expected. This was not expected. So I'm just speaking forth from the people on Obar who will mainly be the ones affected. How is it going to affect us? Is there going to be a wall put up so that a noise barrier that will keep the people that frequent the restaurant and the campers that are there? And I don't know about you all, but I've camped. We have camped for many years, and we have never, ever been this close to a residential area. So I am very opposed, and I'm asking for you to consider saying, no, thank you. We don't want to do that right now.
Thank you.
How much time is left?
Just over 4 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Julia Whitaker, and I'm the Vice President of the Board for Black Creek Community Association. I'm here to strongly oppose the special permit applications for the travel trailer camp and restaurant on behalf of our homeowners, families, and residents who've invested in our community. If approved, this development would fundamentally change the character of our neighborhood. It would introduce several serious safety and security concerns and negatively affect the property values and quality of life that residents have worked hard to build and maintain. The proposed travel trailer camp and restaurant are not compatible with the surrounding residential area. Black Creek's a well-established premier master plan community. It's thoughtfully designed to provide a peaceful and secure environment for homeowners, and allowing commercial uses directly adjacent to our properties undermines the intent and design of our neighborhood. West Hills Drive is already overburdened. The local dead end there was never intended to support heavy traffic. An influx of additional RVs, trailers, and restaurant patrons could create unsafe conditions for our residents along West Hills Drive and Nestledown Court, particularly for families who walk, bike, or play throughout our community. Additionally, a travel trailer park introduces a more transient population, individuals who are not long-term members of the community and may not have the same vested interest in maintaining safety and security. This raises legitimate concerns about neighborhood safety, trespassing onto private property, and overall security. Additionally, we're concerned about the increased noise, lighting, and activity that come with restaurant and trailer camp activities. These disruptions would significantly affect the peace and tranquility that residents value in our neighborhood. Perhaps the most concerning is the potential impact on property values. Real-world examples show that introducing transient lodging near residential communities, particularly those with higher home values, can diminish property values and reduce neighborhood appeal. For many of our residents, their home is their most significant investment. This proposal puts that investment at risk. On behalf of the Community Association at Black Creek, I respectfully urge the Planning Commission to deny both of these special permit applications. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the opposition who wishes to speak? Commissioner Graham, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for all of your service. This is a very difficult job. I think watching paint dry is probably more fun. But thank you for your job. It's very important that you all do what you do, and we appreciate that. I'm intimately involved, I guess you'd say, or a part of this property. This will always be my home. I was raised on that campground right there. My parents owned it when I was a kid. The field, what is now Black Creek, was where we rode our horses, my mini bike, our motorcycles. I mean, I'm very familiar with this property. This development, both resolutions, doesn't make sense for many, many reasons. First of all, as been said today, going through that campground, you're going to have all these families that are going to be tent camping and have their animals and their family members. And then you're going to have this road coming through there that's going to allow for restaurant traffic. With all due respect to the property owner, he was here once before because there was a very big lawsuit, and he's not a good neighbor. There's been issues that I've had sent me by email by several people in the neighborhood and the community. He's just not a good neighbor. It's a harassment. He's been arrested. I mean, there's just it's not a good thing to have there. It's also just not a good use of that property. Why would you go to Walmart parking lot and put another Walmart in the parking lot that's owned by somebody else? I mean, that's kind of what you're saying. He wants to put a campground or restaurant in a campground. See, it doesn't make sense. So I stand firmly. I believe in property rights. I believe every owner should have the right to do what they want to do with their own property within the right zoning, but it's got to make sense. And it just doesn't make sense. Thank you all.
Any questions for the opposition? Politician always knows exactly how much time is left to speak. That was very good. Are you with the opposition?
I am.
We are out of time.
Out of time.
I'll give you 10 seconds to.
Well, I represent Steve and Patty Perlacki. They own adjoining property. They're opposed to this, probably for most of the reasons that have already been stated. So I just wanted to state on the record, Dr. and Steve and Patty Perlacki oppose this request.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, can staff, just for the record, say something here?
Absolutely, yes, please.
Just as a reminder to the opposition here as well, it's currently zoned C1. Under the current C1, you can put a motel and a hotel by right in this property. You'd also put a daycare, kindergarten, hospital, a lot of things that he can go on the property by right. Just want them to be aware there's other things in the zone that's presently zoned that could happen on this property.
Hey, Mr. Lehman.
Yeah, and Brian, this may be just a good point or a good opportunity to say the same thing, because what we're talking about is land use and what could possibly be put there based on by right. Brian's right, it's C1, so there's a lot of things that could be put there. But just as the conversation before, there's a lot of other types of building codes, septic codes, all kinds of things that go into that I think was highlighted relative to this current application, that depending on whether you get a land use approval or a special permit approval, If you can't meet fire code, you can't meet building code, and you can't get a septic system that's appropriate, it doesn't mean that you can build a hotel. So I guess want to make that point because I believe there was a request for a deferral, I think, because of some of those items. That maybe the applicant's waiting until you potentially get something, but there are open items to where even if you get a special permit, there may be certain things that are not, that you cannot construct. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, there's no fire service. The county doesn't provide fire service there.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from Planning Commission? I'm sorry. Thank you very much. 2 more minutes for the applicant. I apologize. Come on up.
He said there's no fire service, but my mother, they came to take my mother to the hospital. The fire department came up to the house. They do supply the, I think it's zone 3. And the house has been there before Black Creek. I've been there for 32 years. The property is a C1, and I can get to do anything I want with the property. It's commercial as it is. I got all these campers around me. I can't use it for a house. The campers have fires there and everything. Why can't I get what I want? I'm staying away. If you can look at it, that's an R2 right there. I'm not even touching Black Creek. Nobody can see me. I'm so high, so I don't see what the big deal is. I've been there for 34 years. I watched Black Creek got built. And I knew the man that used to own it. That's how I got there. And I used to have a business in Chattanooga. That's why I'm here. So I'm not going to affect the golf course over a restaurant. And the driveway is big enough that any ambulance or anything can come through there. And I got the water, and I'm just taking care of right now with the septic system. It can be approved. I already talked to the county about it. They said it's not a problem. I don't see what the big deal is over a restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for applicant, staff, or opposition from the Planning Commission? Any discussion or motions from the Planning Commission?
Second.
We have a motion to deny that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry?
I did have one question for Brian.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian, what was the thought on the defer? Was that your recommendation or was that?
It was staff's recommendation for the applicant to get with groundwater protection, environmental health, and the fire marshal to see if those things could be worked out. But what Commissioner Lehman said is correct. You know, if you can't get that, even though he gets a special permit, he wouldn't be able to operate.
Gotcha.
If you can't get groundwater.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion to deny? Is the motion for both cases, the restaurant and the travel trailer? Do you agree? Okay. All right, all those in favor? This is a motion to deny both cases. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it.
And Mr. Chairman, this case will go in front of the County Commission next month, May 14th, in this same room at 9:30. Okay.
And we had one vote for both those cases. I assume that's,
We'll do that. We'll have 2 separate resolutions. I think the motion was for both cases.
It was.
Okay, yeah, we'll have 2 separate resolutions.
right. But one vote.
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on to case 2025-58. We're on case 58.
Sure. This is case 2025-58. This is a request to rezone from A1 Agriculture District to R1 Single Family. Proposed use is single unit detached residential. It's roughly 37.4 acres in size. Number of units proposed is 122. That's a density of 3.3 dwelling units per acre. Looking at the zoning map, to the north is A1, to the south is R1, to the east is R1, and then the west is A1 across Snow Hill Road. There's been there's no zoning history on this particular piece of property. However, the ones to the south, we do have some zoning history. At 6584, which is immediately abuts this property, that was rezoned from A1 to R1 in 2001. If you go further south, where the A1 is, I think it's below Raspberry Way. In 2019, we had a request to rezone this from A1 and R1 for this entire site to RTZ. Staff recommended to deny that request. At the Planning Commission, the applicant changed the request to go to R1. Planning Commission recommended to approve R1 and they recommend to approve with condition of 2.27 dwelling units per acre for the entire site. County Commission ultimately denied the application. So you have some history. This is Sweetbriar Cove. And then across Snow Hill from the site, Snow Hill Road from the site, this is Bell Mill. In 2023, we had a request to rezone from A1 to R1. That was ultimately denied. And the applicant withdrew the request to go to R1. This has two existing single-family dwellings on the property. To the north is single-unit residential and agriculture uses. To the west is single-unit residential and agriculture uses, and those are on large lots, not traditionally in a subdivision. To the east is single-unit residential and agriculture, and to the south is single-unit. This is Sweetbriar. This property does have, to the rear, it does have a floodway and a floodplain associated with it. Here's a view of the site from Snow Hill Road. Another view of the site from Snow Hill. This is I think it's Groundhog Trail going back to the site. This is north of the site, some of the single family dwellings. This is south of the site is Sweetbriar. This is Groundhog Trail. This is the two homes that's on the site. This is west of the site. This is in our Wolf River Creek plan, which was adopted by the Planning Commission in 2005, but was not adopted by the County Commission. It recommends very low intensity residential for this location. You can see on the map here in the red circle, that's where the location of this property is located. It's again, very low intensity residential. Here's the site plan or PUD plan that was submitted with a request. You can see it's one entrance in, loops around to a cul-de-sac. The R1 district would introduce a much higher density development with smaller lots, lot frontages, and setbacks. The development standards in the R1 single-family district would introduce smaller urban lot development pattern with a maximum density of 7.26. The applicant is doing a PUD that limits this density to 3.3 dwelling units per acre. Again, the Wolf River plan states that densities in excess of 2 dwelling units per acre should only be considered if development will preserve substantial areas of open space. It doesn't specify what substantial means. The proposed density of this development is 3.3, so it is exceeding the 2.0. This PUD shows approximately 19% of the land as community space. Some of the land is located in a floodway and cannot be built on regardless of the PUD. Again, 19% of the sites being preserved as open space. Is that substantial or not? It's not clear because it doesn't provide a definition. The plan also states that PUD should retain a substantial buffer between the center line of Snow Hill Road and the interior dwelling units. The site plan shows a proposed 25-foot wide landscape buffer along Snow Hill Road frontage. So it seems to meet those two criteria to exceed the 2.0. The proposed density of 3.3 dwelling units per acre has not been approved by WWTA for public sewer capacity, so it's unclear on what the approved final number of buildable lots can be on this site. This could be handled by a minor PUD amendment, which could reduce the number of units shown, as we discussed earlier. The current A1 zone most closely aligns with the plan recommendation of 2 dwelling units per acre than the requested R1 single family. If there is a desire for flexibility and setbacks and lot frontages, the applicant could seek a PUD under the A1. Most important thing here is the area is currently undergoing an area plan process, which is Plan Hamilton, which will provide guidance on appropriate development form and density in the future of this location. The new plan will include more information related to growth with infrastructure. This plan is about a month away, but it's scheduled to be in front of the Planning Commission on May 12th with a June County Commission action. So based on that, staff recommends deferring this case and the next case, which is the PUD, for 60 days, waiting the outcome of that plan, what that plan recommends.
You want to go ahead and present on the next
Sure.
case too, since it's a companion case?
Sure, 59, same site, same history, everything. It's just a PUD. Here's the PUD plan. Again, it shows one entrance in, 122 lots. Again, WWTA has not approved any sewer capacity at this location. This could be developed on septic tanks. If that's the case, this would be a minor staff approval PUD because it would reduce the number of lots. But again, staff recommends deferring this case for 60 days, waiting the plan recommendation to see what that plan recommends for this area. And we did receive opposition. I'm sure they're here today as well.
I'm sure there is.
For
yes.
both cases.
Before we move on to the applicant, who I'm going to assume is Mr. Price, because he's found the podium, are there any questions for staff? I do want to take separate votes on these cases because they're different types of applications, but
Sure.
we can take them in terms of discussion for both the applicant and opposition as two combined cases. Mr. Price, you have 7 minutes.
Thank you. Mike Price, MAP Engineers. So the request is currently showing 122 homes, single family, on this property. I would, as just a couple of housekeeping items, if you will, the amount of open space is not 19%, it's 23% is what we are proposing. So there's a slight error that staff had there. The other thing I would point out is that in the staff recommendation, it also pointed out that directly to us in Sweetbriar that their density is 3 units per acre. So given that, what we are going to amend our plan is to reduce by 10 units, and we will now be proposing 112 single-family homes, which puts us at 3 homes per acre. Going with the Wolf-Teaver plan, it says and states into there in very clear language that if you go over 2 units per acre, one should have open space. 23% open space is a pretty high number. That's almost 1 out of every 4 acres. So that's a pretty high number of what we're providing on this particular plan. I would also point out that we have a perimeter landscape buffer that we are proposing. We also are proposing a 25-foot planted buffer along Snow Hill Road to screen our development from Snow Hill Road. Both of those type of uses, those conditions are what is coming before this body and ultimately probably approved in the area or Plan Hamilton. So these were sort of born through part of that discussion, and those are requirements that we are self-imposing as it relates to the development. So I am representing the Scarboroughs, Kenneth and Barbara, who have owned this property since the 80s. And so it's their desire to look at selling this. And given with that, I'd like to reserve the rest of my time and then at that point, respond after opposition.
Okay, we'll add 5 minutes to the rebuttal time for a total of 7 minutes at the end.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, while opposition is coming up, I'm going to clarify on that density, adjacent density. That 3 dwelling units per acre is for the 57 lots that's in the R1 zoning of Sweetbriar. If you look at Sweetbriar overall, the density is like roughly 2.3. The 3 that's in the staff report is strictly for 57 lots, which is this R1 zone property that abuts this property. That's why we look at the R1 because it's what the applicant's requesting. But the overall Sweetbriar is 2.3.
Thank you, Brian. And before we start with opposition comments, can you raise your hand if you intend to speak during opposition? All right, so we got 4, just 5. Just want to make everyone aware of that. Commissioner Highlander, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, sir. Steve Highlander, 7424 Shorttail Springs. I am the county commissioner for this district. We had a community meeting at Fairview Baptist Church across from this. There were over 100 people there, and I had probably 200 more people who spoke to me in opposition to this. This would require sewer. We do not have sewer capacity there at the present time. And I've spoken to WWTA, I spoke to a city official today, and according to Mr. Price at the meeting, we don't anticipate getting sewer for 5 years. And according to Mike Patrick, it's 6 to 8 years. It seems premature to go ahead and rezone this now, to wait 6 to 8 years for sewer, especially when we've got a Plan Hamilton about to be developed. I would agree with RPA that we need to defer this for at least 60 days and look at the Plan Hamilton and see what's going to come from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Kim Helton, 8618 Snow Hill Road. So as it was stated, Sweetbriar, the overall density is 2.27 per acre. The A1 zone property was denied a rezoning with a 2.25 limit on it. So you have the subdivision next to it that was denied an A1 zoning with a 2.25 limit, and this is a lot higher density. So, you know, that could open up a possibility of the other property owner forming a lawsuit. In the December draft of the new area plan made by Reagan Smith, this property is designated at 2 per acre. An analysis of roads was conducted by Reagan Smith and included in the plan. In the plan draft, it said, while Snow Hill and Hunter Roads are critical connections between Harrison, Ooltewah, and Collegedale, these areas are not well suited to higher density development. Narrow right-of-ways, topography, and the volume of traffic already serviced by these limited corridors make it difficult and expensive to retrofit these roadways in a manner appropriate for anything more than base zone density, which is 2 per acre. Also in the Wolf Tiver plan, it says the limited capacity of Snow Hill Road coupled with traffic generated by Ooltewah High School and increasing residential development create traffic congestion along Snow Hill Road. And then it further states, limiting residential to 2 units per acre or less will help reduce the number of vehicle trips generated by new development. The 2024 TDOT traffic count for Snow Hill Road next to the high school was 10,922. It was not an actual count, but a county-wide growth rate of 5% was applied. The previous year had a 35% growth rate. It was an actual count. So there are already about 1,000 homes coming onto Snow Hill Road. And that's going to double the amount of homes that are existing there. And so that's going to double the amount of traffic that's going to be on that road. And we're already over about 11,000 on a 2-lane, narrow, winding road with no shoulders. So we support denial or a deferral, at least until our new plan is in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Next from the opposition, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Rodney Spooner. I live at 8114 Snowdrop Way in Ooltewah. I'm a member of the Hamilton County Citizens for Responsible Development. However, my comments here are strictly my own. First, I'm not against development as long as development is done responsibly. I am, however, against approval of this proposed development in its present form. Snow Hill and Mountain View roads are already insanely congested. I know because I drive them. I don't know how much all of you do that. Snow Hill Road in particular is a narrow 2-lane country road that has long been inadequate, unsafe, and deadly with 0 road improvements. Emergency vehicles have a challenge getting to victims whether a traffic accident closes both lanes or trying to race to a victim of a crime or a home accident. Also, I'm concerned about the adequacy of the traffic studies. Also, a single street for ingress and egress is problematic for 122 homes, which I expect will translate into roughly 244 more cars on Snow Hill Road. Not all at once, of course, but a bunch during rush hour. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next from the opposition, please.
My name is Wayne Rich. I live at 8261 Double Eagle Court off of Snow Hill. Lived in this area for almost 30 years now. Retired field prosecutor Marine. My big concern, gentlemen, is safety. Snow Hill Road is what it is. But the safety measures, I think, are 2 T's. First is traffic control. We know the challenges on speed traps, but there's other ways of doing it. But the biggest other T is turning and turn off lanes. Your curb cut on this development is just a straight right, it's a 9-degree turn. Think of school buses, think of traffic. If you go over and look at Seven Lakes, McKenzie Farms, even the disaster we call Sweetbriar has a major turn lane right off Snow Hill Road. This does not provide that. So that's basically my concerns is the lack of safety with the addition of this development. I concur in Commissioner Highlander's recommendation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for being here, Commissioner Eversole.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Y'all got a tough decision here, and I am here to support a denial, even if it's going to postpone it for 60 days. Plan Hamilton was kind of created because we have certain areas of Hamilton County that we've continuously been popular for growth. Snow Hill Road is one of those areas that's been very popular for growth. If you look at the traffic count on Snow Hill Road, it actually exceeds a lot of city of Chattanooga roads and traffic counts. And it's a county road. So my ask of you today would be, as we look at the projects that are going on the Snow Hill Road areas that we cut back, let's look at what Plain Hamilton is going to be bringing us, which is going to ask us for lower density to give us an opportunity as the county commission in the future to work on some infrastructure improvements as we go forward. But I think right now, looking at continuing to add to the complications of the problem there, I don't think is the right thing to do. So I'll ask you to please, number one, consider denial. But if you do pass this thing for 60 days, I think we're still, my challenge will be is we've got to show Snow Hill Road a little relief until we get down the road and work on some infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And do we have any questions for the opposition? All right. I believe the applicant has 7 minutes for rebuttal because we carried over 5.
Thank you. So first, I would like to point out is the fact that it is correct, we do not have sewer. It's going to be 5 to 7 years. Let me also point out that the Scarboroughs are in their mid-70s. They've owned this land since the 80s. They're looking at wanting to have the nest egg that they have built up all these years. So what better compromise, if you will, to let them go ahead and know exactly what this property can do so that they can sell it to an individual that's willing to buy it and then hold it for 7 years. Again, 7 years gives the county and our fine commissioners and the rest of the county staff to start figuring out what's going to happen versus we're going to put it online this year. That's a totally different argument. So 7 years, 5 to 7 years is when this is looking at coming on board. But we should not hold a couple that's in their mid-70s to wait. There's no reason for them to have to wait. This is meeting the Wolf-Teaver plan as it relates to the open space requirements and what it states in there. It's matching up with Plan Hamilton in many ways. They are going to do a traffic study as part of this. They have a clubhouse, a pool. We're looking at 3 units per acre. Those that were denied previously didn't have the open space or the amenities of what we're talking about. So let's not compare apples to oranges. Let's compare what we're looking at here today. If you do decide to defer it, here's what I would ask. Bring it simultaneously with Plan Hamilton. Let's run them through at the same time because they both deserve a discussion at the same time. If you pass Plan Hamilton, you need to pass it with this particular plan in mind so that we move them together at the same time, if that's the will of the commission, versus letting Plan Hamilton and then let this follow behind. There's contracts that are in place that need to be worked through from a timing standpoint. So that's the way that I think that would be fair to all parties if you're going to defer it for the time. I would also point out that north of this site on Snow Hill Road, there are a couple of developments that are sitting in the 3.3 unit per acre. So it's not like 3 units per acre is the magic number that we need to stay below, or 2 units per acre. We've got them north of here. So we're not out of context. And again, I go back to 23%, almost 1 out of every 4 acres is open space. And once we reduce by 10 units, 10 homes, we're probably going to be over 25%. So given that, I think that this is a plan that is matching and heading towards almost in alignment where Plan Hamilton is heading. I'd also like to point out something that opposition did not bring up, but we have heard before this body time and time again, is schools. I looked at this and did a little bit of research. Let me tell you something. Let me give you what the enrollment per year the last 5 years for the school system has been. 2021, 44,248. 21-22, 43,273. 22-23, 44,186. 23-24, 44,845. 24-25, 44,765. I've heard time and time again opposition talking, they're bringing all these kids in. We're overcrowding our schools. Where's the evidence? If the last 5 years, the enrollment has basically been net neutral. What we're seeing is that people are moving here that are retired couples or empty nesters. So keep that in mind when that school comment starts coming up in the future. Our schools are staying net neutral in terms of enrollment. So with that, if there's any questions, happy to answer those.
No questions for the applicant, okay?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner, yes.
I've moved to defer for 60 days.
Do we have a second? I have a motion that's been properly seconded to defer for 60 days. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, sir, Mr. Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I actually did have a question for the applicant. Mike, you're very exact with the open space, and I feel like this is always an interesting point. Does the ordinance still say substantial open space?
Well, the Wolf River plan just says substantial, doesn't give a number. And then the PUD requirements doesn't also give a number, it just says open space should be provided.
Yeah. And I guess, but what my question specifically is for the applicant was, does that, where do you, when you're doing the sort of CAD plan takeoff to figure out, acres of open versus acres of development, where does that include the street and the sidewalks, or is that just the lot boundary area that is going to be lots of open space?
So it is not including any right-of-ways or streets or sidewalks. That's all inside the right-of-way. It does not include any of the home sites that are going to be for sale. So it basically ends at what is common space between all of the residents that would be in that particular subdivision.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad that that's the number, because I feel like when there's no sort of like formality or designation to what is provided as open space, it can sometimes be difficult to put your thumb on like what is represented in that 23% of leftover. And I think that, from some of the PUD plans that we've seen, that's a commendable percentage. We've seen some that come through that are more like 8 to 10 that are saying this is significant. And I think, 20, 30, somewhere in that ballpark feels more, significant, but I'm going to support the deferral. But I just wanted to ask that question because we never really get to have that conversation when talking about that reserved area.
Right. Thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor that's been properly seconded. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. We are deferred for 60 days. That's on case 58. I do want to take a second vote since it's a different kind of request for case 59. So do I have a motion to defer case 59? I have a motion that's been properly seconded to defer case 59 60 days as well. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be recusing myself from the next 3 cases. I'm going to step out for a little bit.
Okay, please note that, staff. All right, case number 2025-60, Brian.
Yeah, this is in Ottawa as well. This is a request to rezone from A1 Agricultural District to M2 Wholesale and Light Industrial District. Proposed use is warehouse and office. It's 5.06 acres in size. You can see on the map here, this is a zoning map. Everything abutting this property is A1. It's not to get further south that you see the industrial zone, which is M2. There's been no zoning history on this side itself. However, below transport lanes, what that road's called, property was annexed in the city of Chattanooga and zoned M2 in 2003. It's a single-family dwelling on this property. To the north is single-unit residential. To the south is single-unit residential. Then once you get below transport lane, you do see warehousing. And then to the west of this side is a 2-unit residential. And then, of course, to the east is I-75 right-of-way. Here's a view of the site. Again, it's existing single-family home. View of the site. This is north of the site. South of the site, single-family dwelling. This is Mountain View Road. To the right is the interstate, and to the left of this picture is the site. Again, this is located in a Wolf River Creek area plan from 2005. The plan recommends low-intensity residential at this site. You can see that on the map in the red circle. Here's the site plan. The site plan of the property we're talking about now is highlighted in the red square. You see one access point off Mountain View Road. This request is not compatible with Wolf Beaver Creek land use plan. It would not be compatible with adjacent land uses as that's residential, and it is a residential land development form of this location. The plan recommends industrial uses south of Profit Lane and transition to residential uses north of Profit Lane. The right-of-way between Mountain View Drive and south of Profit Lane is cleared, and properties have visibility to and from I-75. The current A1 zone would allow for the development of 10 single-family detached residences. The request is not an extension of existing zone because there's no other non-residential zones nearby. This request would introduce a dissimilar zone and use mid-block without support from the plan for this property's land use transition. The M2 district allows a wide range of uses from automobile service stations, used car lots, record service, hospitals, and other non-residential uses that could impact the residential uses that are abutting this property. Approving M2 at this location north of Profit Lane will also set the precedent for future requests, and it would allow for the expansion of industrial zoning and uses along Mountain View Road. So staff recommended to deny this request. We do have
We have a companion case.
companion case. You want me to go through that as well?
Yes, please. And they're both rezone requests, so we can.
They're both rezoning requests. Same applicant, just a different piece of property further north. This is case 2025-61, similar request, rezone from A1 to M2, wholesale light industrial. This is for RV storage. This is 3 acres. You can see on the zoning map, everything abutting this property is A1. There is no M1 or M2 manufacturing zone near this property. No zoning history on this property. It too is a single family dwelling. To the north, south, and east or west of this property, single unit residential. Of course, to the west is Mountain View and I-75. This is a view of this site. You can see it's single family dwellings. North of the site. This is south of the site. West of the site. Of course, here's Mountain View Road. Again, to the right is I-75. This is also in the Wolf Beaver Creek plan from 2005, which recommends low intensity residential. Here you get a closer view of that site. It's Rancho Drive. Here's Profit. Here's Rancho. This site plan's here. The one we just talked about to the left, the one now in front of you is the area in red. It's storage as well as RV boat storage. Same comments from the previous case. It's not supported by the plan, would introduce conflicts and incompatibility issues with the residential uses. Approving the M2 at this location will set the precedent for future requests along Mountain View Drive. It's not an extension of existing zone, so staff recommends to deny this request as well.
All right, thank you, Brian. We'll take the cases together on discussion, but again, we'll do 2 votes on this because it is 2 different pieces
Sure.
of property.
And we did receive opposition, and we do have, in front of you, I think there should be a binder from opposition that has a, I don't know if it has a cover or not, but we have oppositions put together a binder as well as a presentation they like to use at their, for their minutes.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, can the applicant raise his hand, her hand? Thank you very much. And raise your hand if you're in opposition today. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, applicant, come on up. And we're going to do, again, discussion on both of these cases together as companion cases. We will take separate actions on them at the end of all this. But you have 7 minutes and then 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Brad Brackett. I'm with Reagan Smith. We're at 35 Station Street in Chattanooga. We're working with the property owner, Mr. John Payne, on these rezoning requests. So we are requesting rezoning from A1 to M2 for the development of office flex warehouse on the one piece and climate-controlled, gated and secured RV storage on the other piece, 3-acre piece. While the immediate adjacent area is low-density residential, these properties are on a frontage-style road on an interstate. Typically, these are characterized by higher intensity mixed-use developments. We're also taking notice of recent light industrial growth to the south, and we feel these proposals fit within those development patterns along the Mountain View corridor. Mr. Payne has owned these properties for a number of years, and he's looking to entitle them for their highest and best use based on recent development trends. It's important to note that ingress egress will be solely from Mountain View Road and not from any residential streets, so there'll be no disruption to existing residential streets. We feel these projects will have a lower impact on sewer demand and traffic compared to, say, a medium-density residential development proposal. Also, these proposals will not place any demands on nearby schools. It's also important to note that nearby, the required utilities are in the Mountain View Road right-of-way. We did hold a public meeting, and we had the opportunity to hear directly from nearby residents. And while we understand there are concerns about the proposed uses, we did not gain any consensus for an alternative vision for the property. We did hear a strong preference for no development at all, or possibly only a few single-family homes. We feel that since these parcels front on a frontage-style road, they are actually less suitable for residential use, also with the close proximity to the interstate. So we do recognize that this corridor is different. It's a transitional area in our view. It has varying land uses and densities surrounding it. And our goal is to be thoughtful about how these sites are developed. While the proposed use is different from the adjacent residential uses, we believe they can be compatible due to our proposal's relatively low impact on traffic and infrastructure, and with the buffers that we'll have to put in place. It's a 30-foot buffer. So in closing, I would like to also say that we are open to conditions to remove some of the permitted uses within the M2 zoning, and I have a list of those. I think we came up with 8 easily. There could be more. So at this time, that concludes my comments. And so now we have another speaker who is a real estate expert, and he's going to speak to market conditions. Thank you.
Afternoon. My name is John Mitchum. I'm a real estate agent. I'm licensed in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. The main focus of my practice is in commercial and development. I wanted to just highlight some statistics, snapshots of the market in general. We use what's considered a reliable source of information for market data. It is called CoStar. The CoStar Industrial Market Report for Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'll make a copy available to you here. It's full of a lot of fluff, of course, but there are some data points that are of interest. Mostly in the industrial market, the vacancy rate I want to mention is 3.2%. Vacancy is an economic indicator that is used in order to base decisions on investment, on construction and speculation. A 3.2% vacancy rate indicates a very strong market. Its obverse of that, of course, is occupancy, which is there at 96%. In the case of a 3.2% vacancy rate, owners, landlords, speculators, developers would consider new product in a market and also raising rents in that same market. It indicates demand. There is a shortage of supply in the marketplace in the Chattanooga metropolitan statistical area. Considering a development of this nature, it would help to meet that demand. Specifically concerning 7105 Mountain View Road, Flex Space is the name of the type of product that would be proposed here. Flex Space vacancy rate right now is 1.5%. Again, a strong indicator of need and demand. I'll make that available to you as well. Overall, to me, the proximity to our major manufacturers, Volkswagen, Enterprise South, recent pilot tax abatement and tax incentive programs being made available to other manufacturers in the area is a strong indication of growth. What we are all sold on years ago in industrial development here is if you build it, they will come. Indeed, we are at that point. Development is here, employers are here, and we are enticing them further. The point of all of this is we need to continue to support that ripple effect from these employers who are coming. If we do not support and maintain that ripple effect, all boats, rather than rising on the tide, will simply get jostled on the tide. So it would be my recommendation to consider closely how development proceeds, particularly up this transitional corridor at Mountain View Road. Further, I have concerning this property specifically, I've taken data points, comparables of other mini warehouse, flex space storage, and M1 and M2 type properties of recent construction since 2022. And I come up with some tax rates. This is, of course, of interest to the Hamilton County Tax Assessor's Office. On average, tax amounts to about 88 cents per square foot for this type of property, new property in this kind of category. Our subject property as it stands now as residential amounts to about 0.78. Excuse me, I've gone over. As proposed, we would see increases in the tax rate of 193% and 192%. So if tax income is important to you,
Thank you.
make all these available to you.
Any questions for the applicant? Right. Opposition, raise your hand if you're going to speak for the opposition. Okay. Looks like 4 or 5 people to speak.
Good
You have
afternoon.
9 minutes.
My name is Karen Eves, and my husband and I have lived at 7003 Mountain View Road for the past 44 years. For reference, we share the entirety of Mr. Payne's 7015 Mountain View Southern property line. My husband's grandfather, Herman Anderson, lived on and developed dozens of acres along Rancho Drive, selling parcels over the years to friends and family like us who've continued his legacy by investing decades of our lives in this community. So today, I'm here to voice our collective, unanimous, adamant opposition to these requests, introducing M2 properties within our established A1 low-density, single-family home neighborhood. There are many in the room today that came to oppose this as well, but many could not be here because of other obligations. However, the signatures I have on this petition indicate their opposition as well. I'd like to submit that now. I'd also like to point out that all 481 of these signatures were not collected electronically, but were in fact recorded in person, face-to-face, neighbor by neighbor. If this request is approved, the effects would have irreparable impact, not on just us, the current residents, but also on thousands of daily commuters along Mountain View Road, as well as future residents of subdivisions that you've approved but have not yet been built. In particular, the 83 home project just southwest of our property. There would be tremendous environmental, traffic, security, privacy, noise, light, and aesthetic ramifications that would greatly devalue our homes and degrade the integrity of our countryside community. One of our major concerns is environmental damage. The land in our part of the county simply does not perk well. And given the low elevation and marked fall of these particular properties in question, rainwater runoff and other detrimental issues will result. We know this because we already have problems after even routine rains. Traffic is also another huge concern. Access to I-75 is limited to exit 11 only. Mountain View Road has limitations in and of itself, and with the increased traffic from unprecedented and relatively unmitigated residential growth, adding additional commercial vehicles like tractor trailers and RVs to this 2-lane road would be a nightmare. The potential for crime would obviously be significant and increased, and our privacy would all but be destroyed. And obviously there would be unavoidable noise and light pollution affecting our daily lives. The introduction of M2 zoning would replace mature trees and lovely homes with industrial buildings, loading docks, parking lots, who knows what else. Therefore, we respectfully insist you deny this request to cherry pick properties for one, non-residents' financial gain and preserve our longstanding residential neighborhood. Hard to believe, but 40 years ago, I myself stood here before the commission to oppose the rezoning of the property directly in front of my home, which is now occupied by Frost Cutlery. And at that time, I was assured that a buffer zone along their northern property line would be established to delineate industrial facilities from residential properties north of what is now designated Profit Lane. And for all these decades, that has been the case. There is simply no logical or responsible reason for that boundary to change now. The denial of Mr. Payne's request would align with the Wolf-Teaver plan, align with the area plan submitted just last year by the professionals at Reagan Smith, align with the current draft of Plan Hamilton, and avoid spot zoning, which is irresponsible, if not illegal. It would also support all 12 of your published RPA guiding principles. But in particular, two stand out to me. Number 8 says that you should seek to find a balance between what is good for the community as a whole and the rights of individual citizens. Number 8 says you will facilitate new growth while protecting neighborhoods, infrastructure, and the environment.
Ma'am, I just want to point out you have less than 4 minutes left. You've
Okay.
taken over 5.
Sure. The plans I referenced show that all this is important, and changing your mindset now would be incredibly short-sighted. So Mr. Gary Roden, a Rancho Drive resident, also has some things to share.
Gary Roden, 8624 Rancho Drive, Ottawa. Next slide, please. Objections. These speak for themselves. There's excessive storm water runoff on our property, 8624, which is immediately north of the property under consideration, 7015. We cannot use our side yard and our backyard when we have a modest rainstorm. Next slide, please. This is an elevation, a topo map, if you will. There's roughly 14 to 16 feet drop between the corner of Prophet and Mountain View and the detention pond that's proposed there on 7015. There's a similar drop on the other property, which is case 0061. And what happens is all that water concentrates into those corners. Next slide, please. What you see here is the corner of Prophet and Mountain View, and you see basically the way the water runs. And that runs right into our backyard and side yard. I've put the word flooding there with a little mud puddle, if you will. That's bigger than a mud puddle. That's about a 50 by 50 pond, if you will, every time we get a modest rain. And my neighbor's yard also floods, as well as we get flooding from the other property, which is under consideration, case 61, that runs in the creek. Next slide, please. This is in general how it looks. That's the local flooding. Next slide. This is our side yard under a modest rainstorm. We can't mow this for a week after it rains. Next slide. This is the pond that I was telling you about that develops on the 7015 property. That's our fence and our backyards to the immediate right. Next slide. That's the pond in our yard, 8624 Rancho. Next slide. That's the pond in our side yard and our front yard. And across the street is 8611 Rancho. It's flooding from the other properties that's being proposed for rezoning. This is a nightmare. All right, next slide. Once again, this is looking east, our side and front yard. Next slide. This is the culvert that's exploding. This culvert's overloaded. It's a 12-inch culvert. We all have larger culverts in our driveways. That's the creek. That's 8611 across the street that's flooding from the other property. And you can see the bank is eroding. I walked this creek line. There's
45
within 10
seconds left.
feet. There's 50% of the trees have 50% of their roots exposed due to erosion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Commissioners, me again. Two things real quick. Number one, I would ask you to deny these, both of these cases, 60 and 61. I think we kind of set a boundary of Prophet Lane. Anything south of Prophet Lane, we would keep manufacturing. Anything north, that would continue residential. And I would hopefully respectfully that we would continue that. Also, the data, I appreciate the data given because being a commissioner for county, I'd love to get more data. So maybe we can get that from other parts of the county. One piece of data that really kind of contradicts that is we had a safety study done, and that safety study says that if you live on Hunter Road, you're 9 times more going to be in an accident than an average state highway. And if you live on Snow Hill and down to Mountain View, you're almost 9 times more apt to have a traffic accident. So again, I get back to what we were saying earlier. As a county, let's look at these plans that we're developing that's going to be submitted to you next month and help us put some things in place so that we can create a safer environment for the future generations that are ahead of us. So thank you.
Commissioner Highlander, we are your guests here in the county commission room. If you'd like to make a brief statement, please do so.
I'll be very brief. I certainly agree with those who say this is not appropriate in a residential area. My grandson graduated from Louisville High School last year, and I have been on Mountain View there. It is a traffic quagmire anytime school's coming in and out or people going to work. This would add industrial equipment and vehicles there would make it even worse. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for the opposition from the Planning Commission members? Seeing none, if we could have the applicant come back for rebuttal.
Okay. Ryan, could you pull up the sort of the larger contextual plan that we put together? There you go. So this is zoomed out a little bit. You can see Mr. Payne's parcels are the 2 grade properties. You can see what's happening. To us, this is a transitional area, transitioning up to the roundabout. And since these parcels front on a frontage road, on an interstate, we don't feel like switching uses is a heavy ask. We have adjacency issues, but these properties front on a frontage road. So we will have to do 30-foot buffers. We'll do those. In response to stormwater, we get these questions all the time at the rezoning stage. That's an engineering issue. I will say in general that from my knowledge of the area, a lot of that residential stuff was developed a long time ago before there were stormwater regulations. And I would say that largely that area is unmanaged. When we come in, we're going to be following current guidelines that adhere to the county and the state. We'll use sound engineering practices. And so it will be a controlled site from an engineering standpoint.
Is that all?
I believe that's all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Fair.
Question for the applicant. I think you referenced 8 usages that you guys would be willing to omit. I don't know that you read those off, but would you care to?
I can.
Yep.
So there's as you guys know, there's a lot of permitted uses in M2, and right off the bat, we found 8. Food and food products, packaging and distribution, microwave stations, including towers, rug cleaning plants, automotive stations, automobile display rooms, parking lots, used car lots, automobile wrecker services, double-wide manufactured homes, oil or gas-fired dry cleaning plants, tanks for the commercial retail distribution of flammable liquids or gases. That's what we came up with initially.
Does that answer your question? Any other questions for applicants, staff, opposition, me? Not me. Do we have a motion from anybody on the commission? All right, and this is for case 60. I'd stated before we would take 2 different votes, so we're on case 2025-60. I have a motion to deny that's been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Case number 60 is denied. What's the action on case 61? I have a motion that's been properly seconded to deny case 61. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Both cases are denied today. These will go on to county commission.
Mr. Chairman, and for the opposition, and this will be May 14th at 9:30 in the same room next month.
Thank you, Brian. We'll give the opposition the crowd a few minutes to go outside, but please go all the way out and close the door behind you before you discuss. Brian, let's go ahead and read case, pardon me, 2025-63.
Sure. This is a request to rezone from CMU1, commercial mixed-use zone, to CMU2, commercial mixed-use zone. Or proposed use of office, mixed-use, office, hotel, commercial, and residential. It's on South Broad Street. You look at the zoning map, you have CMU1 abutting this property to the north, south, north and west and east. And to the south is IH, heavy industrial zone. It's 4.77 acres in size. Number of units proposed is 47. That's a density of 10 dwelling units per acre. This site was rezoned to UGC in 2015 through the South Broad zoning study. And then an application was submitted to rezone in 2022 from the UGC to the new UGC, which removed the maximum floor plate restriction in height, was increased from 4 to 5, but the application was ultimately withdrawn. Here's a view of the site. It was a former motel. To the north is commercial and multi-unit residential. To the south is commercial and industrial. And the west across Broad Street is commercial uses. Here's a view of the site from Broad Street. This is the site from West 33rd Street. You can see the multi-unit behind it. Just north of the site, Dollar General. South of the site is WDF. Then east of the site, west of the site across South Broad Street. This is in the South Broad plan from 2003, which recommends mixed-use commercial and business technology. You can see that place type designation there. Here's a site plan submitted with a request. Some aerial views or imagery of what the site will look like. Some of the view of the shops. Some more of the buildings that will be constructed on site. This request is compatible with adjacent land uses, the development form and adjacent land uses, and adopted land use plan, sorry. The current CMU1 zone would permit an application for admin modification of 10% of the height to permit a 71.5-foot tall building. The IH zone to the south of site also allows heavier intense industrial uses and a similar height to the maximum height permitted in the CMU2 zone. There is precedent for taller buildings in this area along Broad Street and Chestnut Street, so staff recommends to approve this request.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for staff from the commission? See the applicant present. Is there opposition present? I've already gotten the presentation. I know it's a good one. Do you want to give a presentation or do you want to see if there's a motion up here?
I'm Bob Franklin with Franklin Architects, joined by Rob Taylor representing the owner. I think we should wait to see whether there's a motion. All right, answer any questions you might have.
I have a motion to approve that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Dan Reuter.
I was just going to say, this is not in the form-based code district, so all of that fancy brick that are on these renderings is not required.
That's right. And I happen to know the councilwoman is very excited about this project. We have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. All right, Brian, you want to move to case 64, 2025-64?
Yeah, this is 64. I'm not aware of any opposition on this case, but this is a request to rezone from A1 and R2A Rural Residential District to C3 for warehousing. It's roughly 1.15 acres in size. There is C2 and C3 abutting this property, so it would be an extension of the existing zoning. There is no zoning history on this piece of property. However, to the one to the south, at 930 Horn Street, that was rezoned from A1 and R2A to C3 in 2017. You can see it's a vacant piece of property. To the north is multi-unit residential and single unit, and warehousing to the south and commercial to the east. Here's a view of the site. This is north of the site, the multifamily. Southeast side of the warehousing, and this is east of the site. This request with conditions is compatible with the comp plan. It would be compatible with adjacent land uses and development form. So staff recommend to approve with two conditions. One of those is limiting the uses to single-family dwellings, double-wide manufactured homes, farming, stables, churches or similar places of worship, offices, storage garages, and many warehousing uses only. A maximum building height of 2 stories to 30 feet. So it comes to you with the recommendation to approve with two conditions.
Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Is there opposition present? What's the will of the commission? A motion that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. I assume that was to move with the conditions. Thank you. Brian, case 2025-65.
Yeah, this is a form-based code request. This is rezoned from UIX4 to UCX6 for mixed-use residential and commercial development. It's 0.42 acres in size. Number of units proposed is 90. That's a density of 214 dwelling units per acre. This is off Reggie White Boulevard. You can see the adjacent zones are UIX4, UIX4, and UCF6 to the north. This site was rezoned in 2016 to the form-based codes to UIX4. Then on Reggie White Boulevard, just north of this site, that was rezoned from UCF6 to UCX4. And then 600 West Main Street was rezoned from UIX4 to DCX20 in 2024, just north of this site. Here's the property, 1823 Reggie White Boulevard. It's currently a vacant multi-story building. You have a soccer field and football field to the east, the pavilion to the north, parking lot to the west, and vacant land to the south and West 20th Street. Here's a view of the site. Another view of the site. This is the site. This is the pavilion north of the site. South of the site, which is it's a parking lot. Of course, this is Finley Stadium to the east of the site. The west of the site. And this is a downtown plan adopted in 2006. It doesn't really give a land use plan recommendation, but it does encourage redevelopment of large industrial sites to office and housing. This request is compatible with adopted land use plan, adjacent land uses and development form. Again, there is a zoning precedent for taller buildings in this location, so staff recommends to approve this request.
All right, any questions for staff? Can you go back to a picture of the building, please?
Sure.
So we know what we're talking about.
The current building.
Yeah.
There we go.
We've all seen it. Is the applicant present? And is there opposition present? What's the will of the commission? I have a motion and it's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. History in the making with that site.
That is. Glad to see something happen.
Case MR 2025-66, Brian.
Sure. This is another right-of-way closure in North Chattanooga, near Tampa Street. Proposed use as townhomes at this general location. It's 200 block of Tremont Street. You see the budding properties vacant on either side. Single unit residential to the north and south, and then vacant land to the southwest. Here's a view of the site. You can see it got some topography issues on this property. This is a site from Thompson Street. This is east of the site. West of the site, I believe this is a church. It's going to be redeveloped. This is Tremont Street. Here's a view of the site plan of what this site will eventually look like when it's constructed. Just another site plan image. Here's some images provided from the applicant of what the alley is. This request meets the city of Chattanooga right-of-way closure and abandonment policy, so staff recommends to approve this request. I'm not aware of any opposition on this.
The applicant present? Is there opposition present? I have a motion that's been properly seconded. All in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Case 2025-67, please.
Sure. On the map here, you see in your map, that's wrong. It says RN2. It's actually zoned IL. Our mapping system didn't correct that, but it is zoned industrial. So this is a request to lift conditions from that property. It's conditions 1 through 3 from ordinance number 13058. Proposed use is warehousing. It's 0.76 acres in size. You have industrial uses to the south and east of the site. Again, the eastern portion of the site was rezoned in 1991 to M2. The western side was rezoned in 1995. It has 3 conditions. Landscape provision of Article 5, Section 1014 on the west side of the M2 boundary line. Landscaping provision of Article 2, 1014 on the northern boundary line. So you had to put landscaping on the north and western side. And no ingress or egress from Kane Lane. The applicant wishes to lift all 3 of those conditions. He's 3945 Cromwell Road. You can see it's industrial uses to the east, vacant land to the south, single unit to the west, and vacant land to the south and multi-unit to the north. Here's a view of the site. View of the site. Just on the right-hand side of those pine trees, that's the existing industrial to the east of the site. This is north of the site, south of the site. This is Kane Lane. The site's on the right-hand side. And this is east of the site. And this is west of the site, single-family dwellings. Here's a site plan showing what the applicant intends to do with the property, one entrance off of Kane Lane into this development. The request to lift conditions is compatible with adjacent land uses and development form. The site will be required to comply with current landscaping requirements, so conditions 1 and 2 are no longer needed. There has been precedent with other properties along Kane Lane for access, so staff is supportive of lifting condition number 3. So staff recommends to lift 1, 2, and 3 of this previous ordinance. I'm not aware of any opposition.
Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Is the applicant present? Is there opposition present? Opposition or applicant? Are you opposition or applicant? Opposition, okay. Is the applicant present? No? Okay. Well then, opposition, come on up. You have 9 minutes.
Emily Berryman. I'm actually the resident at 4127 Kane Lane, which is that one right there. My 2 biggest concerns are there's the plot of land that's between the IL land and ours, which is the orange one, R2, RN2. Our biggest concern is them demoing that and having no landscape barrier between our house and what they're building, because they're planning on putting 4 5,000 square foot warehouse buildings and 4 parking lots, which is telling me that they're increasing their employment as well. And so having that noise barrier is crucial to us, because our house, unfortunately, it's not where we built it because we just bought it in 2018. It's on that lot line. So there's really nothing between us except for that one little area there of trees. The second thing that I have an issue with is where Cromwell comes out onto Shallifer is right there at Vulcan. They actually had a traffic study done a couple of years ago when they were going to put townhomes further down Kane Lane. And they had said that they need to have either a traffic circle done there or a traffic light because of the added traffic, as well as coming on to Kane Lane from Cromwell, having that additional traffic coming in there. That road at Cromwell shrinks down, or at Kane Lane, it kind of shrinks down as you go past my house where it goes down further. So it's not very traffic conducive out there. So that's my 2 biggest concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for the opposition? So Commission, we've got a staff recommendation to approve. We do not have an applicant. We have one person here in opposition. What's the will of the commission?
I just think it's worth noting in light of the opposition's issues that there will be a landscape buffer. Staff, could you clarify what that will be?
Yeah, there is, that's why I was actually looking for it. I don't have the zoning. I can't remember if it's a 20 or 30 foot. I think it's it's 30, I think it's 30-foot buffer abutting the property, the property line on their side.
What's the will of the commission?
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Last rezone case. Ma'am, that will be at City Council next month, and your new council person was sworn in today, Councilman Dennis Park. And for those of you who have not caught on, today was Inauguration Day at the City of Chattanooga this morning. We didn't just swear at people randomly. Case 2025-69.
Sure, this is 1116 True Trail. This is Hamilton County. This is a special permit for a single-wide manufactured home. We have precedent in the area for single-wides from R5 and to the north and south. Staff looked at this and felt it would be compatible with adjacent uses and recommended to approve this request. I'll go through the images real quick. If you want me to stop, just let me know. But these are all single-family dwellings abutting this property, and there's a single-wide currently south of the site. And Emily, once you look at the dog, she was quite proud of the dogs that are coming towards her, so. And this one here, I believe. So it's in the countryside residential, and it recommends single-family residential. And staff, there's a site plan, so staff recommends to approve.
Is the applicant present? Is there opposition present? Have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, you're approved. And that is all of our new business rezone cases today. So that takes us, Brian, to resolutions and amendments. I think we have to take action on 2 items today. I don't think we do on the 3rd if it's been withdrawn, but you tell me.
Sure, yeah. Resolution number 1, we're asking for deferral for May 12th of Plan Hamilton.
This. Have a motion to defer 30 days. I'm sorry, not 30 days, still May 12th. So it would be, yeah, you stated it May 12th. Next month, yeah. Motion to defer that's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed?
And for those watching online, it will be at 5 o'clock, even though it's a Plan Commission meeting. We'll take the regular business from 1 to hopefully 4:30. We'll get done. Then 5 o'clock will be this public hearing part for Plan Hamilton.
Right, that should work out fine because I mean, it's 4:19 now.
Yeah.
We're going to end around this time next month, so it shouldn't inconvenience us or change things.
Bring in pizza. Oh, more pizza. Sorry. Just want to say, if anyone would like a individual meeting to talk about Plan Hamilton, happy to schedule a time to do that. The other thing is, it's been said a couple times that Reagan Smith helped on this plan, and they absolutely helped us a lot. Brandon Baxter did a lot of the transportation analysis. Other folks did a lot of good work, but I just would be remiss if I didn't say there was a lot of RPA staff that worked on this plan. Brian and probably Emily and Karen and Alita and a lot of folks have had to go and work on a lot more of the work that was undertaken by, they helped us a lot. We got up very far with Reagan Smith, but there was a lot of staff time that's in here too. So I just want to make sure I'll say that again next month.
Thank you. And I will thank you again next month and today for all the work that you've put in. All right. So item number 2 is a resolution to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38.
Mr. Chairman, I may have missed it. Did y'all actually vote on the first one?
We did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Dan
talked right.
Dan talked about me. I know.
Yeah.
Threw me off.
We did.
Yeah,
It
so
was
this
approved
one,
unanimously.
no, exactly. Normally I wouldn't go through this, but I like we need to go through this just because I think there's some things I need to add to or staff's recommending to add to the resolution. First amendment for the zoning code is we're adding some corrections to the short-term vacation rental definition. The only thing we're adding is in red, development. Right now, no multi-unit dwelling or development can exceed a maximum 25% of total units. Remember 2 months ago, we added a new definition for HPRs, and that's being multi-development for it's on one lot. So we're adding this to short-term vacation rental, the term development. The second issue that's cropped up that we became aware of through our monthly review of just people calling with questions is we need to add to the institutional zone, some dimensional standards for areas outside the urban overlay. And this is what this amendment does. No minimum lot area for institutional zone. Right now it's what, 5 acres? So to do an institutional, you have to have 5 acres. We're changing this for if you're out, sorry, it says outside, should be inside the urban overlay. It's no minimum lot area, no minimum lot width. You're limited to 60 feet in height within certain zones. Also reduces the setbacks, more of an urban type institutional zone, whereas the current zone really limits what you can do inside the urban overlay for institutional zones.
Brian, I want to, can we go
Sorry.
back to that slide just for the record, because you said it both ways and it's printed both ways. This is for the institutional zone standards inside. the
It
urban
said,
overlay.
I typed outside, should be inside.
Just wanted to say it again to clarify.
Yeah,
in
it
case
should be
for the
inside,
record.
not outside. The inside is what this is correcting. The second issue that we're made aware of, when the zoning code, previous zones like manufacturing zone had a lot of uses. It really wasn't really a traditional manufacturing zone. The M1 allowed a wide range of uses. And so the new zoning code really got back into separating a true industrial zone. But with that, during the plan, Chattanooga zoning code, we stated that, we're not going to take uses away from individuals. We've now found out that's not the case in some locations, and it really hinged on along 153 Auto Row, as you call it, where the car dealerships are. All those zoned IH. Well, IH doesn't allow car dealerships. So as well as some other things. So what we're doing for the meantime is to add a lot of uses that were in the previous M1 zone, add those back into the IH zone. Also allowing retail back into IH zone. And but what we'd like to do with this blessing of this body is add in, which is not in front of your packet, probably the 6th or 7th bullet down, add retail goods establishment to this as well. And then primarily at the bottom, we'd like to make this, give us time to look at this further, but add these uses are permitted if you were zoned M1 prior to the effective date of the zoning map, which is July 23rd. Actually, when was that? December. So if you were zoned M1 prior to December, you're allowed to have these uses and continue until we can look at fixing the industrial zones. Does that make sense, I guess?
Yes.
And then we made some we added a commercial parking lot definition. We add towing dispatch to vehicle operation facility. Then on the non-conforming lot of record status, it just left out dates. So we're adding those dates in to the zoning code. So that's the amendments we're bringing before this body.
Can I just
Yeah,
mention,
Karen, go
this is similar to what we've done in the past couple amendments of allowing uses. So we have a couple zones. The M1 zone allowed a lot of uses. The R4 zone allowed a lot of uses. And like the MXU, it just allowed this long laundry list of uses, which we don't have in our current zone makeup. And so we're adding those in as permitted use. If you were already zoned and you lost some of those uses in the changeover to the new zoning map, those list of uses are still available to you. They're not available if you're want to rezone property. So we're trying to move forward with our new zoning structure and implement plan, Plan Chattanooga that way, but we're acknowledging you might have lost a use. And so those uses are available to you only if you were zoned that previously. So we don't want to amend the table, just put everything back in the land use table, because we do have a new zone structure that makes sense. But we want to acknowledge that you had zoning entitlements. During the process, we said, we're trying to make sure you don't lose them. And this is the way to do that, is just to say, if you had them, you still have them, but moving forward, they're not available for new rezonings.
This is one way to try to fix that for the time being.
I know the answer to this, but we have other zones that can accommodate all these uses in similar areas.
Yes,
If we're saying this only applies to people who had, or a property that had M1 before, if someone rezones to IH, they cannot have these uses. But there are other zones that would allow them to have each of these uses.
And the intention is to collapse. So we have those 5 or 6 really broad zones, is to say we should have now 2, 3, or 4 zones that fit all those needs. And so, yes, we would want to direct someone to one of the more appropriate zones. It's a little more tailored, that doesn't allow everything.
And that's what the purpose of zoning code was, to separate out those uses. And it sounds like it's going back the way it was before. And it is in some regards, but it's only if you were already zoned.
Only for the entitlements they already have.
Correct.
Great. And this is more evidence that we said when we brought the zoning code update that we would be updating it at least quarterly, and I think we've done it monthly for the last 3.
We have. We've done it.
So we're very
Every month.
serious about keeping it up to date and making it as good as we can and constantly improving it.
And I'll be honest, a lot of this has come to the attention of working with LDO and their staff and from citizens who are in the middle of a project.
Yeah. Yeah, I recognize a couple. What's the will of the commission? Yes, sir, Mr. Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first question about the amendment to Article 17, the STVR, the addition of or developments. It sounds like that's intended to encompass things that are, I just want to make sure.
It's multi-unit development, and that's like where you have, like, it's HPR, you have multi-units on one lot.
Okay, so that's not in any way touching any of the non-residential ability, if people are developing these in areas that would otherwise allow a hotel or something like that, that the or developments doesn't in any way impact.
Mr. Lyle, I think this is because, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, horizontal property regimes, as some know, or we're seeing more and more of these across the city. And with our topographic challenges, I think it's going to be an increasing thing. And this is for single units that could be built on an HPR, for example, whereas if you had a townhome building and there's 8 of them, you know that 25% of that is 2. But this would be for an HPR where you have individual single unit detached. Is that right?
That's correct. What we're getting is like a HPR, which is one lot. You may have 20 single-family dwellings on it, and they call it multi-unit for building permits, and all of a sudden they want to call it single unit for other requirements. Well, this was one way to limit that. You're a multi-unit development. You're not a single family. Right. You're multi-unit.
Mr. Chairman, just a note, last month we added, or the month before, we added a definition in for multi-unit development. But I do see in reading that it perhaps should read no multi-unit dwelling or multi-unit development to be really clear. When I look back at the definition, I mean multi-unit development and not just any development in.
Yeah, we can change that.
I think that might help clear because it is pointing back to the definition, which is related to the HPR.
Okay, thank you. I just know that the STVR topic for the good people watching at home can sometimes be a bit of a lightning rod issue. And I wanted to be sure that the non-residential zones where it's allowed and the multi-unit residential, that I understand what the clarification is, but just want to be, so everybody out there in, the ether understands exactly what the intention is with the change.
Yeah, that's we'll make that change, call it multi-development, put multi in front of it.
Move to approve with the changes, multi. That's what I thought I heard. Great. We have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment's passed. We have one more item of business. I think, do we need an action?
We'd like to just withdraw this from the agenda. It'll probably come back, maybe 2 months. It'll be back again. There's some changes to state law in terms of this VIP program that I think Karen's updated you all in the past couple of months about. We don't want to go ahead. We want to wait till that amendment goes through the state before we bring an amendment to the zoning code for this body.
That's fine. It's a resolution, not an ordinance, so we'll just skip over it. All right, next item is staff updates.
I don't have anything unless Dan, Emily has anything.
Okay. Next, we have public comments on non-agenda items. Does anyone have a public comment on non-agenda item? Right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of March 10th, please? Have a motion. You have a change too?
I do. I just wanted to, according to my memory, case number 2025-0047, the motion to deny was made by Dr. Steve Cottle, not Nathan Janaway, but I could be wrong.
Can we make
Cottle,
that
do you
change?
recall making that?
We can go back and check.
It was the Dogwood Drive.
I will
property,
say in the video, it's
the
hard for us.
Brainerd area.
Yeah, I think it was Dr. Cottle. I was saying the video, it's hard for us to capture who says what on emotions is very hard at times, even when we're here. And it's like watching the video is very hard. See who makes the motion.
Mr.
It
Lyle,
would be
will you accept that
helpful.
amendment?
In the future, it would be helpful if the chair said, Ms. Chairman Lehman made motion
Chairwoman Adamson second, so
Yeah.
that people in the video can hear too.
It's hard.
Next time I chair, I will do that.
Okay. Yeah, I can say that now that Ethan isn't here.
Well,
And
Chair,
I'll encourage our chair to do
I
it.
said, but Chair, your chair day, you tell the chair from next month, he needs to start doing this.
Will do. We have a motion on the floor for the minutes, but we have not yet taken a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? The minutes pass. Barry Payne's not here today, folks.
Yeah.
Commissioner Holland motions to adjourn.
Hey, I was just going to say, it was a joy being back. It makes me fully aware of the difficult and important work that this planning commission does. So I thank you for that. It's sometimes a thankless job, but I do recognize how important it is. So thank you for allowing me to be with you again. And I appreciate the pizza. Thank you.
Todd, thank you. It was a pleasure having you again today. All right, we are adjourned. That's right. The other one pays better. The other one pays better.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This one I always tell people is free chicken. Special sauce. Good job, thank you.
Thanks, sir. See you, man. You got through it before 5. That was, you did great, man.